Chapter 868. It's almost unsalvageable. At the last moment of the divine illusion dimension's end, this piece of news caused a huge commotion. An aura of danger once again spread across Xieyang Palace. Elites from Sky Suspension Palace, the Great Ghan Imperials, Sky Sword Pavilion, the Duanmu family, and many other forces started to search for the Blue Serpent King and Jilan. However, Xieyang Palace was an independent dimension, and all kinds of senses and divine senses were greatly suppressed. How hard would it be to find two people in such a huge palace? The most troublesome thing was, only a limited number of people could track the 1,000 changes illusionary dragon's movements. Zhao Feng, quickly think of something. Jilan seemed to be grasping at a life-saving straw. Her tone was slightly pleading. For some reason, she had an inexplicable confidence in this purple-haired young man, whose cultivation was not very high. If even Zhao Feng couldn't do anything, then the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon would be destroyed at the last moment. There's only one way left. Zhao Feng sighed after thinking for a long time. Xieyang Palace was very big, and it would be very hard to find two people who were purposely hiding, even if he used the Eye of Heaven. Last time, the reason why Zhao Feng was able to confirm the location of the fake demonic duo was because they had been exposed. This time, the Blue Serpent King and Jilan would definitely be on guard against Zhao Feng in case they faced the gaze of the God Eye again. What is it? Jilan's beautiful purple eyes revealed a wisp of hope. However, Zhao Feng only glanced at her and didn't say anything. Jilan instantly understood that the mark of destruction on her couldn't escape the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon's senses. Let's go. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng looked at each other. Shua. The substandard god weapon on Zhao Feng's arm lit up faintly, and a layer of silver light appeared on their bodies. In the next instant, Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng disappeared under the gazes of the Ji family. This is the power of the substandard god weapon, the misty spatial world. The elites of the Ji family were dumbfounded. Jilan and company obviously didn't know that Zhao Feng had left 19 spatial marks around Xieyang Palace. Meanwhile, the Peak Kings of Sky Void Palace, the Great Ghan Imperials, and other forces headed toward the outskirts of Xieyang Palace. I hope I can make it in time. Senior brother Zhuge took a deep breath and said, there is only one way to stop them. At this moment, the geniuses and kings within Xieyang Palace started to quickly leave the palace. After some time, at a certain moment, outside Xieyang Palace, we're almost there. A layer of transparent dark green camouflage light blended with the surroundings and was rapidly moving in a certain direction. Ahead. Outside the God-forbidden formation, the giant shadow of the black-scaled dragon coiled in the air and could already be seen. The Blue Wyrm King and the 1,000 Changes illusionary dragon were disguised within the dark green camouflage. Lord Black Serpent Dragon, we're almost there. The Blue Serpent King's face was filled with excitement. Stop. Right at this moment, a silver-gray figure flashed, and two purple-haired figures appeared. Purple-haired demonic duo. How is this possible? The hearts of the Blue Wyrm King and the 1,000 Changes illusionary dragon shook. Meow meow. A dancing thieving cat appeared in front of Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng. Shua. The Blue Wyrm King and the 1,000 Changes illusionary dragon's figures appeared. They were first shocked, then grim, and then they started to laugh loudly. Ha ha ha. Zhao Feng, your Soul Dao Eye bloodline techniques won't be able to do anything to us. The Blue Wyrm King roared as an emperor intent that could freeze heaven and earth appeared, and a layer of blue frost instantly formed on the nearby grass and trees. Wang. The Blue Wyrm King's body was covered in blue scales that were as thick as ice. The aura of his bloodline and body was enough to make normal kings collapse. Emperor intent. The Blue Wyrm King has become an emperor. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng's expressions changed slightly. The Blue Wyrm King's bloodline could be ranked in the top 10 Imperial Dao bloodlines. Once he became an emperor, his battle power would be extremely close to a peak emperor. Illusion God Mask. The 1,000 Changes illusionary dragon clicked his tongue as a clown mask appeared on his face, but it radiated a powerful Soul Dao illusion. That's an inheritance sacred weapon of the Tao of illusions. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. No wonder the Blue WRM King and Nan Gongxing were so confident. The Blue WRM King's strength had surpassed Emperor Mu Yun's level due to his powerful bloodline. On the other hand, the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon was extremely resilient against Soul Dao secret techniques and illusions. Now that it had obtained a Soul Dao inheritance sacred artifact from Xiayang Palace, it wasn't scared of Emperor-level Soul Dao secret techniques. 2-on-2, let's fight. Nan Gongxing licked his lips. The purple and blood-colored symbol on his forehead was bright red, and the undulation of power from his body seemed to freeze the space nearby. Zhao Feng opened his left eye bloodline, and a layer of golden blue light appeared around him as the aura of his sacred lightning body spread. However, this was just what Zhao Feng was doing on the surface. He had already started to control the king and elite venomous bees within the misty spatial world. The two started to accumulate power and were ready to fight. Heh, we're not that stupid. You two thieves, one inherited the power of the evil god, and the other has the substandard god misty spatial world. The Blue WRM King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon had cunning expressions. They could clearly see the situation within Xiayang Palace through the Black WRM King. Whoosh! A dark green light flashed, and the Blue WRM King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon disappeared. Zhao Feng found that there were no traces of the two nearby. Underground, Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing looked down at the ground at the same time. The crystal horn on the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon's head spun rapidly and flashed with a bright orange light. Whoosh! The Thousand Changes illusionary dragon took the Blue WRM King and burrowed into the ground. Earth escape. This chameleon knows how to burrow into the ground? Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing's expressions changed dramatically. Although the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon's body and battle power were slightly weaker than the Blue WRM King's, its support and escaping abilities were top tier. Zhao Feng, do you know how to burrow into the ground? Nan Gongxing asked. Zhao Feng's face twitched, and he rolled his eyes. He wasn't omnipotent. At this moment, he regretted not choosing the Earth of Wind Lightning when he first chose the 5-elemental Wind Lightning. If he had chosen the Earth of Wind Lightning, Zhao Feng would have been able to travel through the ground. Zhao Feng stomped on the ground. The soil was extremely hard, and it took him a lot of effort to create a crack, let alone traversing through the soil. After all, this was Xiayang Palace. Even if it wasn't made of stone, it was still not normal. However, the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon's bloodline had the ability to break through the ground. Meow meow. The little thieving cat suddenly waved a spade and dug into the ground. Bung! Boom! Suddenly, the ground nearby began to shake violently. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing could feel the ground beneath them shatter. Arg! The Blue WRM King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon howled as they moved through the ground. Wah! Wah! Both of them vomited blood under the terrifying power of the collapsing soil layer, and they were almost stuck below. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing had weird expressions as they looked at the spade in the little thieving cat's hands. A bottomless crack appeared in the ground where the little thieving cat had dug. The crack spread in every direction. Zhao Feng guessed that the little thieving cat's spade had a strong ability to dig through metal and earth. This spade wasn't an offensive weapon. It should be a support-type substandard god weapon. Boom! Boom! The little thieving cat waved the spade and dug a few more times. Damn it! The Blue WRM King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon barely managed to break through the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. The two of you obediently hand over the key to the origin sealing divine chain. The divine illusion dimension is about to leave, and everyone will be able to safely survive. Zhao Feng said. If it was a 2-on-2, Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing had a high chance of winning. However, if the Blue WRM King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon wanted to escape, it would be difficult to make them stay. Winning and killing were two different concepts. Whoosh! 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 Right at this moment, the sound of flying came from afar. We've arrived. Xianyuan Wenhua turned into a streak of light and was the first to arrive. Behind him, one could faintly see the figures of Zhao Yufei, and Mo Dongyao, senior martial brother Zhuge, and other powerful kings. Invisibly, the Blue Wyrm King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon were pincered. Zhao Feng will succeed as long as you can stall them for a while, senior martial brother Zhuge exclaimed. No problem. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng had confident expressions. Behind them, the elite kings that were chasing after them couldn't help but feel relieved. It was all thanks to Zhao Feng's substandard god weapon, the Misty Spatial World, that he managed to stop the Blue Wyrm King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon. Ha ha ha. The Blue Wyrm King started to laugh, even though he was being sandwiched. The Blue Wyrm King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon stood where they were and didn't move. What are you laughing about? The hearts of Zhao Feng, Nan Gongsheng, and the people chasing after them dropped. All of you won't be able to escape this. The Blue Wyrm King's eyes were cold as a mocking smile appeared on his face, and his voice was calm and powerful. Wang. Right at this moment, the roar of a dragon sounded from outside the god's forbidden array, and caused heaven and earth to change color. Everyone's gazes couldn't help but turn toward the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon outside the god's forbidden array. Lord Black Destruction Serpent Dragon, this is the key to the Yuan sealing divine chains. A muscular male with thick eyebrows threw a black key as thick as a tree trunk toward the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon outside the crack. God Chain's key. The humans in the back focused their vision, and when they saw this scene, their hearts thumped loudly. Gu Chaoji, Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng exclaimed. The muscular male with thick eyebrows who had handed over the key was Gu Chaoji from Earth Spirit Hall. He Lord Black Destruction Serpent Dragon saw through your plan long ago. This key has already been given to someone else. We're just a cover. The Thousand Changes illusionary dragon gave a smug smile. Gu Chaoji, as a human genius, why are you helping the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon? Nan Gongsheng couldn't help but ask. Back in the underground palace, Gu Chaoji's Earth Spirit Hall had teamed up with Nan Gongsheng and Zhao Feng's 10,000 Sacred Clan. Those of us who came in later have the mark of destruction placed on us. And its control isn't just strong. You can stall for time and leave alive, but we won't be able to. The Blue Wyrm King Wei Jing said emotionlessly. Zhao Feng and company fell silent. Under the dual effects of the threat to their lives and the temptation of benefits, most of the people present would definitely make the same choice as the Blue Wyrm King and the others. At this moment, the situation couldn't be changed. Outside Xieyang Palace, ding! The Yuan sealing divine chains on the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon gave off a crisp sound, and the aura of the Destruction Dragon rose to another level. Pung! Pung! Everyone's hearts sped up, and their bodies went cold. Chapter 869. This series of shocking turns of events caught everyone off guard. The Blue Serpent King and the Black Destruction Serpent King were just a cover. The real key had already been given to someone else. The Black Serpent Dragon controlled everything in Xieyang Palace. Being an existence that had lived for countless years, its intelligence was once again underestimated by the humans. At that distance, no one was able to react in time and stop it. Ding-ka! The black chains on the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon's body opened, and the sound of metal resounded across heaven and earth like the sound of despair and the end of its life. Woo! Everything will end. I will first tear you ants apart, then destroy Xieyang's foundation bit by bit. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon roared into the sky as a scarlet-black flame appeared on its black-scaled body. The aura of the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon instantly doubled. Hoo-boom! A forbidden and cold destruction draconic might cover the entire dimension that Xieyang Palace was in. Everything in heaven and earth seemed to tremble and fall into endless fear. Within Xieyang Palace, the outsider elites seemed to become petrified. Their bodies and bloodlines trembled, and they were unable to use their true yuan. They could only tremble. The bloodline aura of the Destruction Dragon race, ranked 9th among the 10,000 ancient races, stood at the peak of a myth. Now that the yuan sealing divine chains have been opened, the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon will be able to circulate its Dragon Yuan divine power. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing barely managed to stabilize themselves, but they couldn't hide the shock in their eyes. Within Xieyang Palace, many kings and half-step kings that had the mark of destruction placed on them knelt on the ground. In terms of bloodline, state of existence, and power, the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon surpassed everyone else by too much. In this moment of danger, Zhao Feng gently touched the substandard god bracer in his hand. A wicked smile appeared on Nan Gongxing's face. However, in the next instant a change occurred. Wang, the Yuan sealing divine chains that the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon had just opened, merged with the giant key and released a wave of dazzling five-colored lightning. Boom! Boom! In an instant, the five-colored godly lightning extended into countless electric chains that wrapped around the Black Serpent Dragon. Arg! The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon's black-scaled body twisted and convulsed in the air as it let out miserable cries. What a terrifying lightning power! The power of wind lightning within Zhao Feng's body became restless, and even the divine tribulation lightning trembled slightly. Zhao Feng had no way of estimating just how terrifyingly powerful the five-colored divine lightning was. Even the Black Serpent Dragon had suffered grievous injuries. Boom! The Black Flood Dragon's body was covered in five-colored lightning chains. Its huge body landed on the ground, creating a huge crater and sending dust flying everywhere. Shameless Xieyang! How dare you trick me? The Black Serpent Dragon's enraged roar shook the heavens. Just the remnant aura alone was enough to make many humans feel as if their minds were about to split apart. Boom! Boom! In that area of dust, the Black Serpent Dragon's huge body struggled and rolled. The five-colored lightning kept flashing and cutting, even sinking deep into its body. TSK, leaving his opponent some leeway is not Master Xieyang's style. A wicked voice sounded from within Nan Gongxing's body. The ancient god Xieyang knew that he couldn't seal the Black Flood Dragon forever. The reason he left behind this key was to further plot against the Black Serpent Dragon. Nan Gongxing explained. He had learned about this from the evil god's mental thought entity. Who? The experts within Xieyang Palace couldn't help but let out a long breath. Their backs were drenched in cold sweat. Everything had its vanquisher, and every mountain was taller than the last. Although the Black Serpent Dragon had unparalleled battle power, it had been sealed by the ancient god Xieyang. That wasn't all. The ancient god Xieyang was still within Xieyang Palace, and he had left something behind to plot against the Black Serpent Dragon. Unfortunately, the key has been stored for too long, and the power of the divine lightning isn't even 1% of its peak. Otherwise, the wicked voice within Nan Gongxing's body said regretfully, "Let's retreat for now." Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye could see that the five-colored lightning chains around the Black Serpent Dragon's body were weakening. At the same time, an almost undetectable crack appeared on the surface of the Yuan sealing divine chains. Zhao Feng was sure that the five-colored lightning wasn't able to kill the Black Serpent Dragon. The Black Serpent Dragon might be able to recover soon. The human elites that had just arrived understood and retreated into the depths of Xieyang Palace. The divine illusion dimension is about to end. The longer we can last, the higher our chances of survival will be. Senior Marshal Brother Zhuge decisively retreated. The flowers and plants within Xieyang Palace started to become fainter and more transparent. Whoosh! 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 The king elites that had just arrived all moved away from the Black Serpent Dragon. The Blue Serpent King and the Thousand Changes illusionary dragon took this opportunity to hide into the ground. The other humans didn't have time to care about them. Zhao Feng could clearly feel that the Black Serpent Dragon's movements had become much smaller as they retreated. Half a day later, the geniuses and elites of the various forces retreated to the depths of Xieyang Palace and gathered together. When the Black Serpent Dragon comes in, the overlapping divine illusion dimension will leave the continent zone. Our chances of survival aren't small. The 8th Prince of the Imperials gave a faint smile. At least, the Black Serpent Dragon wasn't as threatening as before. Time slowly passed by. Everyone within Xieyang Palace was in pain. Another half a day passed. and the Black Serpent Dragon's struggles outside Xieyang Palace had completely stopped. Humans, as a member of the World Destroyer clan, even if I'm injured and weak, I can still easily crush you ants. A dark roar resounded across Xieyang Palace, through the mark of destruction. Boom! Boom! The gods' forbidden array outside Xieyang Palace started to shake once more. Enter! The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon turned into a humanoid male covered in black dragon scales, opened a crack, and entered Xieyang Palace with a whoosh. Outside Xieyang Palace, the Yuan Sealing Divine Chains had broken into pieces. After losing the Yuan Sealing Divine Chains, the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon could turn into its human form and use secret techniques. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the black-scaled male revealed a deadly expression as he was covered in a layer of scarlet-black flames. A faint black tornado appeared around him and swept across everything within dozens of miles. Whoosh! Boom! Boom! Wherever the human-shaped Black Serpent Dragon passed, everything would be burned black. The Black Serpent Dragon is charging in. The expressions of some of the human elites within Xieyang Palace changed dramatically. Although the black-scaled male wasn't big, his destructive power was shocking. Even under the suppression of Xieyang Palace's power, he was still able to shatter mountains. Most of the human elites were in the depths of Xieyang Palace, within an underground cellar. Yufei, we've worked together to dissolve the mark of destruction in your body. Zhao Feng and Nan Gongsheng slowly let go of each other. Zhao Yufei opened her eyes and revealed a look of joy, but then worry and furrowed her eyebrows. Zhao Feng knew that she was worried about the safety of the other members of the Duanmu family. Yufei, it's too late. The mark of destruction in your body was strengthened by the Black Serpent Dragon, and it took a long time to dissolve. Zhao Feng shook his head faintly. Dissolving the mark of destruction was a very troublesome matter. Zhao Feng didn't have the responsibility, nor the ability to dispel the mark of destruction for everyone. The benefit of dissolving the mark of destruction was that the Black Serpent Dragon wouldn't be able to sense it after it entered Xieyang Palace. The Black Serpent Dragon would first sense the targets with the mark of destruction in Xieyang Palace, and avoid the ones that didn't have the mark of destruction. Therefore, everyone in the palace was trying to think of a way to dissolve the mark of destruction. However, only a small number of people were able to do so. Only Zhao Feng, Mo Dongyao, Nan Gongsheng, and a small number of people had the ability to dissolve it. Rumble! Outside the Xieyang Palace complex, the human-shaped Black Serpent Dragon summoned a faint black tornado of light and attacked. Arg! A small number of geniuses and elites weren't able to dodge in time, and were instantly turned into pieces by the whirlwind. Whoosh! The speed and agility of the human-shaped Black Serpent Dragon increased dramatically, and it purposely dragged some of the human elites into its destruction. Most of the humans in Xieyang Palace started to panic. The geniuses and kings that hadn't dissolved the mark of destruction were the first to be slaughtered. They didn't even have the ability to fight back. Whether they lived or died, whether they died earlier or later, it all depended on luck. However, two purple-haired figures had cold expressions on one of the towers. They didn't show any signs of panic. The Black Serpent Dragon is heavily injured. It's just forcing itself to charge into Xieyang Palace to vent its anger. Nan Gongsheng said. After being tricked by Xieyang, the Black Serpent Dragon's threat decreased by more than half. Zhao Feng and company didn't have the mark of destruction and the misty spatial world. Their chances of survival were the highest. The Destruction Dragon race's bloodline is really monstrous. It can increase one's strength through destruction, and even recover one's yuan qi. Apparently, the Destruction Dragon race can absorb a type of origin power of destruction every time they destroy a dimension or world, and use that to strengthen themselves. Zhao Feng sighed. This was the specialty of a race that was ranked 9th among the 10,000 ancient races. Otherwise, why would the Destruction Dragon race want to destroy a world so easily without any benefits? Arg! Run! Fear and chaos broke out within Xieyang Palace as the geniuses and elites ran in all directions. Roar! At a certain moment, the Black Serpent Dragon roared and charged toward the area where Zhao Feng and company were. Before the power even arrived, Zhao Feng's body and soul started to tremble. He felt as if he was about to be destroyed and turn into dust. Shua! A layer of silver light covered Zhao Feng and company, and their figures started to fade before disappearing. In the next instant, Zhao Feng and Nan Gongxing appeared outside of Xieyang Palace. Before this, Zhao Feng had left more than a dozen spatial marks outside of Xieyang Palace. Zhao Feng suddenly exclaimed as he looked at the transparent space in front of him. Faintly, his god's spiritual eye could see through the transparent space and see the hazy mountains and rivers below. The aura of the continent zone. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. A ripple of energy came from the clan token on his body, and it seemed to be pulling him in. So, before entering the divine illusion dimension, the super forces would give a return token to the elites that were entering. When the divine illusion dimension was at its faintest, they could use the return token to return to the clan and not get lost. We can go back now. Exclamations of joy sounded from the divine illusion dimension. Shua! 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 The bodies of some geniuses and elites sank into the transparent space and flew toward the hazy space of the continent zone. Those figures soon disappeared. The space in front of him seemed to become a mirror, like it was a dream. A real physical dimension. The black serpent dragon, which was destroying everything in its path, couldn't help but pause as it looked at the hazy continent zone below. A cold and cruel light flashed through its eyes. Shua! 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 More and more elites, including those outside of Xieyang Palace, and in other corners of the divine illusion dimension, disappeared. Nan Gongsheng, we'll meet again in the future. Zhao Feng's body had already sunk downwards, and he followed the pull of the return token into a misty passageway that seemed to be both real and illusionary. An unknown number of breaths passed. Shua! Zhao Feng's body sank and appeared on a black stage. The exclamations of the disciples of the 10,000 sacred clan sounded. This was the 10,000 sacred clan of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. Chapter 870. Divine Illusion Dimension. Right now, the matter of space was as faint as smoke and clouds, like the time in a mirror. Everything seemed transparent and empty. At this moment, a layer of illusionary world phantom images enshrouded heaven and earth, and it was gradually breaking away from the continent zone. The first to leave was the northwestern region of the continent zone, not the continent dynasty. Inside a hall that looked like a giant beast. Yu Tianhao, count yourself lucky this time. I'll let you have the heavenly barbarian god's inheritance first. A red-haired man whose entire body was glowing with a golden light was holding a long spear in his hand. He stood proudly on a huge fire-winged dragon that was several hundred feet long, like a fiery god of war. Just the aura from the flaming winged dragon was close to that of an emperor. Opposite the red-haired man was a black-haired young man. His face was pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Although this black-haired young man Yu Tianhao was only at the middle stage of the Void God realm, he had a shocking battle intent. You are very strong, but you're not my true opponent. Yu Tianhao wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth, exuding an indescribable confidence. The red-haired male was too strong. His bloodline and cultivation were perfect, and he had broken through to the Void God realm during the early stages of the divine illusion dimension. Moreover, he had obtained a blazing winged dragon that was close to a great emperor. If he hadn't obtained the acknowledgement of the will of the heavenly barbarian god's inheritance, Yu Tianhao would have suffered a crushing defeat. Arrogant and ignorant. In the entire divine illusion dimension, only that Xianyuan one is my greatest enemy. It's a pity that I didn't meet him this time. The red-haired man's lips curled into a mocking smile. It seemed like he didn't care about Yu Tianhao at all. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the fading void, Yu Tianhao and the red-haired man quickly disappeared. After that, the geniuses in the Lord Dynasty started to quickly disappear, like Xieyang Palace. Zhao Feng and the others were among the last to disappear. If one looked at the divine illusion dimension as a transparent world that overlapped with the continent zone space, the divine illusion dimension would be like a transparent world. In that case, the region closest to the northwestern region of the continent would be the first to break away from the overlap. The second was the central continent. Finally, there were the 10,000 Sacred Clan and the Tsang Ocean True Martial Sacred Land. If one looked at the entire Divine Illusion dimension, the most dangerous place was Xieyang Palace. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the geniuses and elites of Xieyang Palace were filled with joy as they returned to the continent zone. Although Xieyang Palace was the most dangerous place, the fortune here was much better than the other places. Their future would be immeasurable if they could leave this place alive. A real physical space. Very good, very good. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon coldly watched as these geniuses and elites disappeared, but it didn't stop them. It licked its lips in anticipation. Wherever I go, there will be destruction and end. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon's figure slowly sank into the hazy dimension of the continent zone. Continent zone, coastal region, Tianfeng Great Island Zone. Whoosh! A purple-haired youth appeared on the platform of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. It's here. It's him. Zhao Feng. This kid is actually the first one to appear. The exclamations of some members of the 10,000 Sacred Clan came from near the black stage. I am the first one. Zhao Feng stood rooted to the spot, stunned. After thinking about it, he understood the reason. He was chasing the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon in the Divine Illusion dimension and entered the area where the Divine Illusion dimension overlapped with the continent. The continent had connected to the Divine Illusion dimension earlier than this place, so it had left the Divine Illusion dimension earlier as well. This was why Zhao Feng was the first one to return. Junior Martial Brother Zhao, what did you get in the Divine Illusion dimension? Junior, why did you come out first, and the others are nowhere to be seen? The juniors and seniors of the 10,000 Sacred Clan surrounded the stage and stared at Zhao Feng with twinkling eyes. The changes in Zhao Feng's body were too big. Late stage Great Origin Core Realm? This brat was only at the middle stage Small Origin Core Realm before entering the Divine Illusion dimension. Some of the inner disciples discussed. In just a few months, he had jumped from the middle stage Small Origin Core Realm to the late stage Great Origin Core Realm. That was shocking. Most of the time in the Divine Illusion dimension was spent on exploring and not cultivating. This speed isn't fast. Zhao Feng shook his head. He didn't spend much time cultivating in the Divine Illusion dimension, so it wasn't fast compared to Nan Gongxing and company. Although Zhao Feng's improvement wasn't any slower than Nan Gongxing's, the situation was different since he had recultivated. Therefore, Zhao Feng wasn't satisfied with his own cultivation speed, and these words came from the bottom of his heart. These words made some of the juniors and seniors of the 10,000 Sacred Clan reveal weird expressions, as if they had been choked. This brat is just acting. This brat must have had great fortune in the Divine Illusion dimension. Everyone's gazes locked onto Zhao Feng. They were filled with heat, envy, jealousy, unwillingness, and various other emotions. There were even 1 or 2 Void God Realm divine senses among them. Zhao Feng. A surge of magnificent power crushed over and caused the soul dimension to tremble. The noisy area suddenly became silent, and many people's thoughts seemed to be suppressed by an invisible mountain. Different worlds, the difference is really big. Zhao Feng almost couldn't get used to it, and he sighed in his heart. The pressure in the Divine Illusion dimension was too strong. The power and destruction that a Void God Realm King could unleash was thousands of times weaker than in this dimension. Zhao Feng. There was a hint of anger in the king's voice, and the invisible pressure suddenly increased. The brat acted like he wasn't paying attention to the king's words. In this instant, the members of the clan around Zhao Feng found it hard to breathe, and their souls seemed to freeze. However, Zhao Feng stood where he was, as if he didn't feel anything at all. This scene made the Void God Realm King that asked the question exclaim. The other half-step kings, and many experts of the older generation, felt like something was wrong. Elder, what do you want? Zhao Feng raised his head and looked at the cloth-robed elder surrounded by magnificent power in the air. In the distance, a middle-aged king in snow-white robes arrived. It was Huang Yunhu's master, King Lu Yen. Elder Wu, we can talk. If you start a fight with a junior, Won't you be lowering your status? King Lu Yun quickly tried to calm things down. In the Tianfeng Great Island Zone, Zhao Feng's backing wasn't just strong. Apparently, he had a Void God Realm Emperor behind him. And Duke Namfeng had praised him and tried to recruit him. This brat was disrespectful to an elder, so he should be punished. I won't care about it. However, you need to report the whereabouts of the other members of the clan. Elder Wu harumphed coldly. Elder Wu suppressed the anger and displeasure in his heart. A junior at the Origin Core realm dared to disrespect him just because he had a strong backing? He didn't even put a king in his eyes. Zhao Feng, you appeared half a day earlier than expected. Tell me where the others are. King Lu Yun asked. Why was Zhao Feng the only one to return? Did something happen to the others? This question made the hearts of the upper echelon of the 10,000 sacred clan tense. After all, those that entered the divine illusion dimension were either prodigies of the younger generation or elites of the older generation. The life and death of this group of elites might decide the future of the 10,000 sacred clan. The others? Zhao Feng thought for a moment before answering. I split up with them at the start of the divine illusion dimension. At least at that time, they were fine, and there weren't many casualties. During the early stages of the divine illusion dimension, Zhao Feng stayed with the group of the 10,000 sacred clan for a while. After the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon appeared, Zhao Feng teamed up with Nan Gongsheng and left the group. Split up. Why did you leave the group? Elder Wu's expression became grim. This was the question that everyone was concerned about. Because of a disaster, the sealed Black Destruction Serpent Dragon appeared, and everyone ran their separate ways. Zhao Feng briefly explained the situation. Most of what he said was true. What he really hid was that he looked down on the strength of the group of the 10,000 sacred clan and decided to go alone with Nan Gongsheng. Reality proved that. This was a decision that changed everything. During the early stages of the divine illusion dimension, Zhao Feng teamed up with Nan Gongsheng and passed the weakest stage. Destruction Serpent Dragon? Black Destruction Serpent Dragon? Hearing this, the members of the 10,000 sacred clan felt like they were listening to a legend. That's nonsense. Elder Wu's expression was cold as his king intent circled around Zhao Feng in an attempt to pressure him. But he found that he wasn't affected at all. Zhao Feng then patiently told them the details. However, Elder Wu and the others continued to raise doubts one after another, asking for more and more details. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed, and he started to become impatient. Then let me ask you, what fortune did you have in the divine illusion dimension? How did a measly origin core realm break through to the late-stage great origin core realm in such a short amount of time without any problems? Elder Wu's eyes twinkled. This junior in front of him didn't even react to his king intent. He definitely had great fortune in the divine illusion dimension. Fortune? This isn't a big secret. Many people have entered the ancient mysterious palace. As for my cultivation speed, I'm sorry, but I don't think it's fast. Zhao Feng answered everything truthfully. Elder Wu's provocative questioning and overbearing attitude made him more and more impatient. Ancient mysterious palace? What a joke. This isn't fast. That's a joke. The anger on Elder Wu's face became stronger and stronger. A junior at the Origin Core realm dared to not put him in his eyes and even tease him? However, he didn't expect that everything Zhao Feng said was the truth. After the divine illusion dimension ended, the name, Zhao Feng, would shake the 3-star and 4-star powers of the Lord Dynasty. It's up to you whether you want to believe it or not. I'll be leaving now. After saying that, Zhao Feng walked out of the stage. He was too lazy to explain. He still wanted to go back and check his harvest from the divine illusion dimension. His harvest from the divine illusion dimension was too plentiful. His ancient metal ring wasn't enough. But luckily, he had obtained the substandard god weapon, the Misty Spatial World. Brat, stop. If you don't give me an explanation, I'll take you down first. Elder Wu was enraged, and his magnificent power covered everything within a 100-mile radius, as an invisible force grabbed onto Zhao Feng. Normal origin core realms wouldn't be able to fight back against the magnificent power at all. Shut up. Zhao Feng was also enraged. He circulated the power of his sacred lightning body and kicked toward Elder Wu. Boom! Boom! The instant this kick landed, heaven and earth changed color, and thunder boomed as a terrifying golden blue physical force pierced through the air. Arg! Just a wisp of this aura made the nearby members of the clan feel as if they were being crushed by a mountain. Many of them spat out blood and fell to the ground. Not good. I forgot. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly as he realized the difference between this place and the divine illusion dimension. The power of his sacred lightning body, which was close to the early stages of the 5th level, was terrifying enough to crush normal kings. Bam! Elder Wu screamed as his magnificent power shattered, and he was kicked back several hundred miles. His bones almost broke as he spat out blood in midair. Chapter 871. Plop. 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 Zhao Feng's kick didn't just send Elder Wu, who was a Void God Realm King, flying. The surrounding members also fell to the ground, and many of them spat out blood. The tyrannical force of this kick was like a gigantic thunder mountain, weighing tens of millions of kilograms, shaking the heavens. Bam! Boom! The mountain gates nearby were still shaking and shaking, deafening like thunder. How is this possible? The blood of the disciples far away started to boil, and they were all dazed. Another king elder, King Lu Yun, had his mouth open so wide that his jaw almost fell off. To be able to send Elder Wu flying with a kick just by relying on his physical body. King Lu Yun's back went cold, and he was dazed. Even though the truth was right in front of him, King Lu Yun still doubted his eyes. Boom! On the other side, Elder Wu flew back more than 200 miles and crashed into a mountain, causing dust to billow everywhere. How is this possible? Elder Wu's face was pale white, and it was as if all the bones in his body had fallen apart. He couldn't even get up. On the black stage, Zhao Feng attracted many shocked and fearful gazes. Some of the injured members of the clan didn't even know what had happened. Everyone, I'm sorry. I didn't control my strength well. Zhao Feng apologized to the members of the clan that had been injured, but this caused even more screams to come. He indeed didn't want to hurt these innocent members of the clan. Zhao Feng was different from Nan Gongsheng. His strength was accumulated bit by bit, and he didn't want to kill the innocent. However, he had just come out of the divine illusion dimension, so he was still lacking in control of his strength. If he was in the divine illusion dimension, the power of this kick would be suppressed to the extreme, and it wouldn't be so strong. Furthermore, before Zhao Feng entered the divine illusion dimension, his sacred lightning body was still at the initial 4th level. Wood of wind lightning. Zhao Feng spread his arms, and a faint green ripple of wood lightning spread out. Whoosh! The injured members of the clan were wrapped around by the wood of wind lightning, and their bodies became numb as their injuries started to heal. The wood of wind lightning even had the effect of expelling poison and hidden injuries. The quality and effect of this wood of wind lightning is comparable to a Void God Realm King. Not far away, King Lu Yun's eyes flickered. He sized up Zhao Feng with a completely new gaze. He no longer saw Zhao Feng as a junior, but as a king among his peers. Thank you, Brother Zhao. The sect members who had their wounds healed felt that their bodies had received benefits, and their life levels had improved. Suddenly, the disciples of the sects looked at Zhao Feng with a hint of respect in their eyes, apart from fear. After all, Zhao Feng would never intentionally hurt the innocent. Zhao Feng, you're very strong, but you're a member of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. How did you injure an elder? King Lu Yun took a deep breath and couldn't help but ask. If he doesn't make a move, I won't accidentally injure him. Zhao Feng said matter-of-factly. King Lu Yun was rendered speechless. Indeed, it was Elder Wu who made the first move. Zhao Feng's counterattack could be seen as self-defense. However, this self-defense was a bit too much. However, what Zhao Feng said wasn't a lie. He had indeed accidentally attacked. Can I leave now? Zhao Feng acted as if he was about to leave the black stage. Wait for a bit. Beads of sweat appeared on King Lu Yun's forehead, and his heart tensed up. Thinking about what happened to Elder Wu when he tried to stop Zhao Feng, he became even more wary. "Elder, what do you want?" Unexpectedly, Zhao Feng's footsteps paused slightly. His expression was calm, and he didn't have any intentions of attacking. King Luyan couldn't help but let out a long breath. In reality, King Luyan had thought too much. If Elder Wu had spoken nicely, Zhao Feng wouldn't have attacked. If Elder Wu had attacked, how could Zhao Feng just sit there and do nothing? This Zhao Feng, the group from the 10,000 sacred clan that entered the divine illusion dimension, hasn't appeared yet, and you came out alone. Do you want to wait a bit? King Luyan said in a calm tone. He had a tone of suggestion and didn't force Zhao Feng to stay. "Sure, I'll wait a bit." Zhao Feng nodded his head and felt that what King Luyan said was reasonable. He hadn't done anything wrong, so he wasn't afraid of being confronted. After saying that, he sat cross-legged on the pitch-black pedestal with his eyes slightly closed. King Luyan let out a breath when he saw that Zhao Feng cooperated and stayed. The other members of the clan found that Zhao Feng wasn't unreasonable. He was actually quite easygoing. That's right. Why didn't he just talk things out? Why did he have to attack? If Elder Wu didn't attack first, Zhao Feng wouldn't have fought back in self-defense. The members of the clan that had been healed by Zhao Feng discussed and agreed with Zhao Feng. On the black stage, Zhao Feng sat down and started to organize his gains from the divine illusion dimension while waiting. Zhao Feng had stayed in the divine illusion dimension for several months, and he had gained a lot. The resources that Zhao Feng had obtained could be said to be enormous, and there weren't any low-tier resources. Any one of them would be treasures in the continent zone. Among them, the most valuable were two substandard god weapons: the Misty Spatial World and the God-Slaying Arrow. The Misty Spatial World was the bracer on Zhao Feng's hand. Although it was a support-type substandard god weapon, it was very useful. As for the God-Slaying Arrow, Zhao Feng had obtained two, and the Imperials had obtained the third. Zhao Feng couldn't estimate the power of the God-Slaying Arrow, but he was far from being able to use it with his current cultivation. Apart from that, the God-Slaying Arrow was a one-time-use substandard god weapon. It was said to be able to kill gods. Below the two substandard god weapons were the 100 Origin Sacred Honey and other peerless treasures, as well as the legendary ores from the Building of Refinement. Those legendary ores could at least be used to forge heaven-grade weapons, inheritance sacred weapons, and even substandard god weapons. Some of the more valuable ores could even reach the divine grade. Although the value of these ores was high, they weren't very useful to Zhao Feng right now, and they might be useful in the future. There were also peak-grade treasures such as the Green Water Sky Lotus, the Spiritual Flesh Snow Jade Lotus, the Golden Bones, and the Soul-Suppressing Stone. There were quite a few of them. There were also a lot of Green Water Sky Lotus and Spiritual Flesh Snow Jade Lotus. Resources of this level were extremely tempting to Void God Realm kings. Zhao Feng had obtained a lot of them in the Divine Illusion Dimension, especially in Xieyang Palace. As for resources below the level of the Green Water Sky Lotus, such as the Water Mother Essence and the Boundless Wood, they were piled up like mountains. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had obtained the substandard god weapon, the Misty Spatial World, he wouldn't be able to store all these resources. Time passed by. Zhao Feng's consciousness was immersed in the little world within the Misty Spatial World. This little world had its own mountains and rivers, and it could contain living beings. It was more than one level higher than the little world of normal emperors. Of course, the top treasures from the Divine Illusion Dimension were all stored in the interspatial dimension of the substandard god weapon. This interspatial dimension was more stable, and its defense was stronger, making it harder for external forces to enter. Wung. In a corner of the little world was a group of 5 poison distinct bees. There were 3 king bees, over 100 elite bees, and a few hundred remaining. Their auras were comparable to late-stage Great Origin core realms. These venomous bees had suicidal attacks, and they could even kill enemies stronger than themselves. The ones that Zhao Feng had enslaved had good potential, and he could continue to raise them in the little world. The 5 poison distinct bees needed pollen to grow. Zhao Feng had obtained mountains of rare plants in the Divine Illusion Dimension, and those that he didn't need or didn't want were left for the 5 poison distinct bees. Zhao Feng believed that these 5 poison distinct bees would be able to reach the elite level soon. Many of the elite ones would be able to reach the king level. Zhao Feng's goal was to raise these venomous bees to the point where they could threaten 3-star powers. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While Zhao Feng sat down and organized his spoils of war, the sound of flying could be heard. An hour later, several more kings landed near the black stage. Among them was a brown-robed elder surrounded by a layer of magnificent power. His aura threatened the kings present, and his cultivation had reached the peak void god realm. Elder Een. The other kings all greeted Elder Een respectfully when they saw him. There were very few peak-tier kings in the 10,000 sacred clan, and Elder Een was one of them. Elder Een, you've come at the right time. The injured Elder Wu had a sorry look on his face as he barely managed to fly in front of King Ling Qiong. Elder Wu, how did you end up like this? Elder Een was surprised. It's all that bastard's fault. He obtained great fortune in the divine illusion dimension, and didn't put us older kings in his eyes. Elder Wu added fuel to the fire as he told what had happened. Something like that happened. Hearing that, Elder Yin's expression became grim, and his gaze landed on the purple-haired youth on the black stage. The purple-haired youth sat down and cultivated. The arrival of several kings didn't cause his expression to change at all. Any other void god realm king from a 2-star or 3-star power wouldn't be too happy seeing this. Elder Een, your disciple is also in the divine illusion dimension and hasn't come out yet. Elder Wu continued. The void god realm kings that arrived first were all worried about their disciple's situation in the divine illusion dimension. Of the entire 10,000 sacred clan, only Zhao Feng returned from the divine illusion dimension. Brat. If anything happens to my disciple in the divine illusion dimension, I'll hold you responsible. A thunderous voice sounded in Zhao Feng's soul. Zhao Feng raised his head slightly and looked at the peak-tier king Elder Een in the air. At this point in time, all the upper echelon members of the clan knew that Zhao Feng had left the group and obtained great fortune by himself. Some even suspected that Zhao Feng had taken everything for himself and caused the rest of the clan to die. However, the truth would have to wait for the group from the 10,000 sacred clan to return. After waiting for another 4 hours, the elite group from the 10,000 sacred clan still didn't appear. No way. Could the group from the 10,000 sacred clan have all died in the divine illusion dimension? Zhao Feng had a weird expression. Under normal situations, as long as they didn't meet an existence like the black serpent dragon head-on, the chances of them dying were very low. Of course, it wasn't like they hadn't been wiped out in the divine illusion dimension before. If the group from the 10,000 sacred clan had really died in the divine illusion dimension, then Zhao Feng would have to bear a lot of pressure and suspicion. Luckily, that didn't happen. At a certain moment, shwa, 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 familiar figures appeared on the black pedestal, causing the crowd to gasp in surprise. Chapter 872. They're back. Kong Failing has appeared. Figures flashed across the black stage, and they only stopped after several breaths. Zhao Feng scanned over them. About half of the 10,000 sacred clans group had returned, and there were around 40 to 50 people in total. The leader, Kong Failing, wore a beautiful dress and had a powerful aura. Zhao Feng found that Kong Failing was much stronger than when they first entered the divine illusion dimension, both in terms of true yuan and bloodline aura. However, Kong Failing was still half a step away from the void god realm. Apart from that, old Fei Lu Tianfan, Huang Yunhu, and even senior martial brother Guang, whom Zhao Feng was familiar with, were also present. It's good that you're back. King Lu Yun sighed as his gaze landed on his disciples. His personal disciple and his in-name disciple, senior martial brother Guang, were still present. No one has become a king, although a few origin core realm disciples have broken through. They're far from being able to compare to Zhao Feng. The kings and elders present discussed in a low tone. It wasn't hard to see that the 10,000 sacred clans group wasn't doing very well. Most of the geniuses and elites were tired and ruffled, and a small number of them were severely injured. For example, Old Fei had a broken leg and was using a walking stick. Zhao Feng understood that fortune wasn't something that everyone could find. Even if they did, they might not have the ability to grasp it. Xieyang Palace's fortune was great, but how many kings and quasi-kings had died there? For those that were weak, not meeting Xieyang Palace might be a blessing. Zhao Feng. The returning kings all looked toward the purple-haired youth sitting cross-legged on the ground. Compared to them, Zhao Feng's progress was too big. Their gazes were filled with hatred, jealousy, respect and other emotions. Zhao Feng. Old Fei gritted his teeth and had a complicated expression. If you hadn't left the group and helped us, we wouldn't have been in such a pitiful state in the divine illusion dimension. Zhao Feng fell into a brief moment of silence. In reality, Old Fei didn't question or hate Zhao Feng. He only blamed, complained and vented. Why didn't Zhao Feng help us at the right time? In the underground city, the strength and methods that Zhao Feng displayed were already shocking. If he stayed in the group, he would be of great help to the 10,000 Sacred Clan. When the 10,000 Sacred Clan conquered one or two ancient ruins, they were just a sliver away from success. Because they failed, they suffered heavy losses. Zhao Feng, if you hadn't left the team, senior sister Yun, junior brother Chen, they might not have died. Zhao Feng, because of your own selfish desires, you left the team and brought disaster upon us. The returning elites of the 10,000 Sacred Clan questioned in an unfriendly tone. Some of the enraged people almost charged forward and started a fight, but they were stopped by some nearby sect members. Stop. Silence. King Lu Yun and the others immediately stopped them. The severely injured elder, Wu, was a perfect example of how terrifying Zhao Feng's strength was. This was already the case for King Tears. If it were these geniuses and elites, a single sneeze from Zhao Feng would be enough to take their lives. Zhao Feng, I don't hate you. We can only blame ourselves for not being strong enough and having bad luck. However, as a member of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, you didn't do your job. Old Fei smiled bitterly as he leaned on his walking stick, looking desolate. Hearing this, the surviving geniuses and elites of the 10,000 Sacred Clan all became silent. They couldn't completely blame Zhao Feng. If they were strong enough, it wouldn't matter if there was one more or one less Zhao Feng. Heaven and earth will destroy us if we don't look out for ourselves. Junior brother Zhao, I don't blame you, but I'm slightly disappointed in you. Lu Tianfan laughed mockingly. His body was covered in injuries, and half of one of his ears had been bitten off by an unknown beast. After a long silence, Zhao Feng finally spoke. Just pretend that I'm still the average Zhao Feng. Hearing this, everyone paused. If the original Zhao Feng was still here, he probably wouldn't even have the right to enter the divine illusion dimension. The purple-haired youth in front of them was miles away from the original Zhao Feng, in terms of aura and strength. Zhao Feng didn't have much of a sense of belonging to the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The reason he helped the Yunling Zhao family was to fulfill some of the wishes of the original Zhao Feng. Furthermore, my fortune came from chasing after the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon and going through a lot of danger. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and started to reminisce. The dangerous scenes in the divine illusion dimension seemed to appear in front of his eyes. Chasing after the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon? The returning geniuses and elites of the 10,000 Sacred Clan exclaimed. The expressions of Kong Failing, Old Fei, Lu Tianfan, and company changed dramatically, and they couldn't help but take in a cold breath. This Zhao Feng was too bold. He dared to chase after the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon? Sky Suspension Palace, Nine Darkness Palace, the Great Ghan Imperials, Sky Sword Pavilion, the 8 big families. Countless kings and quasi-kings died in Xieyang Palace. Zhao Feng sighed. There were too many kings and quasi-kings that died in Xieyang Palace. 3-star forces, peak 3-star forces, and even 4-star superpowers came out of Zhao Feng's mouth. At this moment, everyone was silent. They could imagine how intense that battle was. Furthermore, these rumors would spread across the entire world of cultivation and the upper echelon of the Great Ghan Lord dynasty. The weakest of the geniuses that entered Xieyang Palace are at Kong Failing's level. Old Fei, do you want me to bring the 10,000 sacred clans group into the abyss? Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. The hearts of Old Fei and company shook, and they were speechless. They wouldn't dare to chase after the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon, even if they had 100 guts. Those 3-star and 4-star forces that they were all familiar with weren't something they could be compared to. Only Zhao Feng would be able to do as he pleased after leaving the group. Furthermore, Zhao Feng was already dead, and Zhao Feng was just using this chance to step onto the Continent Zone stage. What you said can only be confirmed after a period of time, when the people from the other sects send news. A cold harumph broke the silence. The person who spoke was the heavily injured Elder Wu. Next to Elder Wu, the peak-tier king Elder Yin's gaze scanned the crowd. His expression was extremely ugly, and he didn't say anything for a long time. Elder Yin, what's wrong? Did your last disciple not come out of the divine illusion dimension? King Lu Yin felt that something was wrong. The expression on Elder Yin's face was very strange. At this moment in time, no new figures appeared on the black stage. If everything was as expected, those that didn't appear had definitely died in the divine illusion dimension. Junior Martial Brother Wang died to a mutated venomous Spider King. Kong Failing, Lu Tianfan, and company had dim expressions. The junior Martial Brother Wang they were talking about was obviously Elder Yin's last disciple. After confirming that this was bad news, Elder Yin's body started to tremble, and his eyes started to turn red as he tried to suppress the anger and unwillingness in his heart. It was obvious that Elder Yin had invested a lot of feelings into this last disciple of his. Xiao the heavens are unfair. Elder Yin roared into the sky as killing intent flashed through his red eyes as he stared at Zhao Feng, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. Why was that youth that left the group and was cursed by everyone able to obtain so many things in the divine illusion dimension, while his last disciple ended up in such a pitiful state? Zhao Feng, this elder said that if anything happens to my last disciple in the divine illusion dimension, I will hold you responsible. A surge of magnificent power surged toward Zhao Feng. Elder Yin, calm down. King Lu Yun and company immediately tried to stop him. But Elder Yin's cultivation had reached the peak-tier king realm, and his spatial domain had almost materialized. With a bam, he pushed away the other two kings that tried to stop him. Everyone leave. Kong Failing, Old Fei, and company saw that the situation wasn't right, and quickly retreated from the black stage. Zhao Feng didn't want to drag these innocent people down with him, so he continued to sit on the stage and stared coldly at Elder Yin, who was filled with killing intent. Brat, do you know your crimes? Elder Yin waved his hand, and a dark red hand appeared above Zhao Feng's head. He didn't lose his cool in front of everyone. He needed a valid reason to attack Zhao Feng, and there was indeed something wrong with Zhao Feng. And Zhao Feng did have some clues. He had left the team and acted on his own, which was a violation of the sect's rules. If you want to attack, then do it. There's no need to waste words. I still need to go back and cultivate. Zhao Feng slowly stood up under the pressure of the illusory hand. Wang, in an instant golden and blue lines appeared on Zhao Feng's body, and he seemed to become a diamond as his body expanded. Peng! An invisible, tyrannical force knocked Elder Yin's illusory hand away, causing the nearby mountain gate to tremble. You should be punished for your crimes. Elder Yin shouted in shock and anger. He slapped the air with one palm, and a dark crystal spatial domain that was almost solid appeared around his body. The dark red illusory hand burst out with dazzling light. Rumble! In an instant, the nearby mountain gate began to collapse and rumble, due to the aftershocks of the aftershocks. The anger of a peak-tier king forced the other kings to retreat, and Elder Wu, who had been injured earlier, revealed a look of joy. Fuck off! Zhao Feng punched back and circulated his sacred lightning body. A wave of golden blue physical force spread and crackled with lightning. However, just the sacred lightning body alone wasn't enough to deal with the peak-tier king. Boom! A glass-like flame suddenly appeared around Zhao Feng's body, and a scorching aura shot toward Elder Yin's hand and spatial domain. Bam! Boom! From afar, It was as if a blazing blood-colored sun was giving off a blinding light that dyed heaven and earth red. Cracks instantly appeared in Elder Yin's spatial domain. What a terrifying fire Dao bloodline! The nearby kings tried to dissolve some of the remaining power, and their bloodlines felt like they were being burned. The bloodlines of the clan members further away started to tremble instinctively, and the weaker ones covered their heads and knelt on the ground. They felt as if they were being devoured by the fire, and they didn't even have the ability to run. Boom! Bam! In the air, Elder Yin's figure was pushed back several hundred yards as he suppressed his boiling blood. Who? As he was pushed back, a layer of blood-colored flames appeared on his body, and he couldn't put it out easily. What's going on? Elder Yin was shocked. When he exchanged blows with Zhao Feng just now, he could feel his yuan qi and blood flowing away. On the other hand, Zhao Feng's figure faintly shook as he felt wisps of warmth return to his body. His mental energy became stronger, and the tiredness he felt from Xiayang Palace was completely gone. Chapter 873. Boom! Boom! Just as Zhao Feng pushed Elder Yin back, in the air above a mountain in the northern part of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. This bloodline aura, could it be the perfect blood devil sun bloodline that only appeared once in the past? An elder in dark red battle robes suddenly sensed it, and his body shook. He couldn't control the excitement and shock on his face. A divine light that shook heaven and earth flashed in his eyes. In that instant, the intent of fire in heaven and earth spun around him, and the dominating aura of an emperor made countless beings within 1,000 miles suffocate, as if they were in a hell of fire. In terms of aura, this elder in dark red battle robes was close to Duan Muqing, from the true martial sacred land. That direction is the 10,000 sacred clan. The elder in dark red battle robes' divine sense spun, and a detailed map appeared in the dimension of his soul. On the map, he was currently near the Zhao clan of the Yunling Mountains. Following Zhao Feng's rise, the Yunling Mountains were now ruled by the Zhao clan. Even the powerful Luo family didn't dare to interfere. At the gates of the 10,000 sacred clan, what a terrifying fire Dao bloodline! Many experts near the black stage exclaimed, and their bloodlines started to tremble uneasily. At this moment, the gates nearby were dyed red. Zhao Feng's body became taller, and he was like a miniature giant that was burning with a blood-colored sun. He gave off a power that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Through the perfect combination of the sacred lightning body and the mutated blood devil sun bloodline, Zhao Feng pushed back Elder Yin, who was a peak-tier king. The spectating kings were dazed, and their jaws dropped to the ground. Elder Yin was one of the rare peak-tier kings of the 10,000 sacred clan, and he was rarely matched against anyone below the emperor level. This bloodline is very weird. Elder Yin put out the flames on his body, and he could clearly feel the life force within his body fading away. After the battle in the divine illusion dimension, Zhao Feng's understanding and usage of the mutated blood devil sun bloodline had reached a whole new level. The mutated blood devil sun bloodline was extremely forceful, and it had the ability to corrode and ignite. As for the strange ability of blood-sucking, it was the last to be born. The other side, Zhao Feng's originally tired face recovered a little, and there was even a hint of redness on it. Although Zhao Feng hadn't experienced any major battles in Xiayang Palace, he had been tortured for several months, and he had almost died, so he wasn't in a good state. Only a few observant people noticed the completely different changes in Zhao Feng and Elder Yin. Among them was Elder Yin, who had personally experienced it. "Old fool, take another punch from me." Zhao Feng laughed loudly as he circulated his sacred body and blood devil sun body. He was like a flaming golden mountain as he pressed down on Elder Yin with a terrifying pressure. Elder Yin's body sank as he recovered from the shock brought about by Zhao Feng's bloodline. Now that he was so close, he didn't dare to underestimate his opponent and counterattacked with all his might. Boom! Crack! The two figures clashed once again in the sky, causing another crack to appear in Elder Yin's space domain. Swoosh! This time, Elder Yin was prepared. and he used the explosive power of the Blood Devil Sun body to retreat and increase the distance between them. However, even so, Elder Yin's blood boiled, and a layer of Blood Devil Sun flames appeared on his body. Unavoidably, he was slightly injured. If that was all, Elder Yin could use his peak-tier king cultivation to fight for a long time and exhaust Zhao Feng to death. After all, Zhao Feng's cultivation wasn't high, and he could use his bloodline, battle techniques, and weapons to challenge those with higher cultivation. However, if this continued, he definitely wouldn't be a match for someone with the same battle power as him. However, the mutated Blood Devil Sun bloodline's bloodsucking technique had broken this restriction. The second clash, Zhao Feng absorbed some of Elder Yin's Yuan Qi and blood, and his body's condition became better and better. Earth-grade weapon, Floating Dragon Tooth Sword. Elder Yin's face was fierce. A dark golden bone sword appeared in his hand, surrounded by a huge golden dragon shadow sword Qi. Dark golden flame dragons appeared around it, covering a radius of 100 miles. It's this peak-grade Earth-grade Floating Dragon Tooth Sword. The main material of this sword is the tooth of an ancient lesser dragon lord. The hearts of the experts below shuddered as they sensed the aura of a powerful being. When the Floating Dragon Tooth Sword appeared, Elder Yin's battle power increased by 50 to 60%, and the aura of a dragon forced Zhao Feng back. Ding! Peng! Zhao Feng closed in for the third time, but he was finally pushed back by Elder Yin's sword. Sparks flew on the surface of his sacred lightning body. The damage he received was negligible with his powerful body and bloodline. A peak-grade Earth-grade weapon. Zhao Feng squinted his eyes. This time, his close combat wasn't very ideal. The effect of his lifesteal was slightly weaker than the previous 2 times. On the other hand, Elder Yin's peak-grade Earth-grade weapon wasn't simple, and it was a king amongst those of the same cultivation. Brat, apart from inheritance sacred weapons and heaven-grade weapons, my Floating Dragon Tooth Sword has never met a match. You can't get close to me, and the threat of your bloodline is greatly reduced. Elder Yin had a smug expression. At the same time, he let out a breath in his heart. If he couldn't suppress Zhao Feng at all, how would he have the face to face others with his peak-tier king cultivation? Inheritance sacred weapon. I actually do have one here. Mockery flashed through Zhao Feng's eyes. Putting aside inheritance sacred weapons, he even had 1 or 2 legendary substandard god weapons. Inheritance sacred weapon, Sky-Locking Bow. A dark silver bow appeared in Zhao Feng's hand. Mysterious carvings were carved on the surface of the bow, and they formed a 3-dimensional tadpole-like pattern. Jiang! The bowstring glittered with a cold golden light, and it caused the Floating Dragon Tooth Sword in Elder Yin's hand to tremble uneasily. Inheritance sacred weapon, and it's a long-range weapon at that. The smile on Elder Yin's face froze. Experts had different levels, and weapons also had different levels. In terms of weapons, the Floating Dragon Tooth Sword was suppressed by Zhao Feng's Sky-Locking Bow, and its power would be restricted. Sky-Locking Bow. Inheritance sacred weapon. This must be something Zhao Feng obtained in the Divine Illusion dimension. The spectators in the arena were in a state of shock. Since you don't want to fight in close combat, then we'll fight from a distance. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. After saying this, he pulled the golden bowstring of the Sky-Locking Bow with one hand, and the wind lightning true yuan in his body furiously poured into it. Wang! A bright golden arrow instantly formed on the bowstring of the Sky-Locking Bow, and it was surrounded by wisps of condensed wind lightning. Not good. In the distance, Elder Yin felt a chill in his heart for some reason. He felt a piercing pain from a sharp metal energy that could pierce through the heavens. Elder Yin gripped the Floating Dragon Tooth Sword as his body froze, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He had a feeling that no matter how he dodged, he wouldn't be able to dodge the attack of the Sky-Locking Bow. The Skylock Bow. It's actually this legendary inherited sacred artifact. This Zhao Feng is not only strong in close combat, but he also specializes in long-range weapons. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the recognition of the Sky-Locking Bow. Some of the kings present were also stunned. It was hard to imagine that such a terrifying existence was only a junior at the Origin Core realm. My true yuan cultivation isn't as strong as Elder Yin's, so it's hard for the sky-locking bow to kill him. However, if I condense a soul arrow, I might be able to instantly kill him. Zhao Feng's left eye bloodline and the sky-locking bow locked onto Elder Yin. Elder Yin didn't dare to act rashly. The pressure and threat made him feel like he had fallen into an ice house. Zhao Feng was only analyzing and simulating, but he didn't attack. He also had an idea. If he combined the sky-locking bow with the substandard god-slaying arrow, he didn't know what kind of power it would have. I'll only be able to use the god-slaying arrow after becoming a king, Zhao Feng analyzed in his heart. Arrow-type weapons were consumables, and their requirements for cultivation were much lower than other weapons of the same rank. The sky-locking bow could be seen as a crowbar, while the god-slaying arrow was the item that had to be lifted. For Zhao Feng, the god-slaying arrow was too heavy. The weight of the god-slaying arrow that had to be pried up was too great, exceeding his limits. Unless he could increase his own strength, he would not be able to unleash its might. In the air above the 10,000 sacred clan, the auras of the Earth-grade weapon and the inheritance sacred weapon continued to rise. The spectators all maintained their distance, and their hearts tightened. Stop! An incomparably dignified voice rang out from nowhere, causing a faint rumble to resound from the boundary of this world. Suddenly, a strong emperor's magnificent power descended. Everyone present, including the Void God Realm kings, felt their hearts shake, and they found it hard to breathe. In the next instant, Shua. At some point in time, a beautiful woman wearing an amethyst crown had appeared in the cloud layer. The peerlessly beautiful woman's entire body was surrounded by crystalline light. Colorful silk ribbons fluttered around her body, giving her a perfect and noble air. Emperor Ling Qiong. Sounds of respect mixed with amazement came from the crowd. Some of the lower-level sect disciples even knelt down to pay their respects under the great pressure. Greetings, Third Elder. Elder Yin let out a long breath. The other kings such as King Lu Yun, Elder Wu, and company also bowed. Third Elder, Emperor Ling Qiong. Zhao Feng couldn't help but look over. This peerless beauty was the only female emperor of the 10,000 sacred clan, Emperor Ling Qiong. This made Zhao Feng remember the Cold Moon Emperor from the Pirate King's sacred land. Compared to the Cold Moon Emperor's valiant and murderous aura, this Emperor Ling Qiong had a more dignified and graceful beauty. Emperor Ling Qiong, you have to help us. Elder Yin and the injured Elder Wu immediately spoke up and accused Zhao Feng of his evil actions. This brat disregarded the life and death of his fellow disciples, offended an elder, and severely injured one of the elders. Emperor Ling Qiong's expression was as calm as the water of a lake as she listened to the two elders. No one could tell what she was thinking. Zhao Feng floated in the air and didn't show any signs of panic or change under the pressure of an emperor. As expected of a genius that Duke Nanfeng likes. Admiration and interest flashed through Emperor Ling Qiong's eyes as she inspected Zhao Feng. She didn't show any enmity, and her expression could even be considered friendly. This scene made Elder Yin and Elder Wu feel indignant. Third Elder, you have to be fair. My body's bones are about to fall apart from the beating. Elder Wu's voice trembled. His heavily injured appearance was enough to make anyone who didn't know the truth pity him. Emperor Ling Qiong's expression went cold. I saw everything from the beginning to the end. Hearing this, Elder Yin and Elder Wu's hearts dropped, and their faces went white. According to some rumors, Emperor Ling Qiong has a secret relationship with Duke Nanfeng. Not far away, King Lu Yun and the others discussed among themselves. Chapter 874. Martial Monarch Ling Qiong's cold harumph sent chills down Elder Wu and Elder Yin's spines. Indeed, their previous words were slightly slanderous and twisted. However, the two of them did not expect the entire process to be witnessed by Great Emperor Ling Qiong. On top of that, Emperor Ling Qiong was friends with the ruler of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone, Duke Nanfeng. She didn't hide her admiration for Zhao Feng. Since the third elder has seen the entire process, please give us a fair judgment. King Lu Yun and company suggested. There were only 2 or 3 emperors in the entire 10,000 sacred clan, and Emperor Ling Qiong's status was the highest. Furthermore, Emperor Ling Qiong was famous for being impartial. Many people respected her, but there were also people who hated her. Okay. Emperor Ling Qiong nodded her head, and her beautiful eyes landed on Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng. A cold voice that contained the pressure of an emperor covered Zhao Feng's body. Boom. Zhao Feng's figure shook in the air, and he revealed a surprised expression. He originally thought that Emperor Ling Qiong would protect him due to her relationship with Duke Nanfeng. However, judging from the current situation, Great Emperor Ling Qiong was going to put him in his place as soon as she appeared. However, this display wasn't successful. Even the pressure of an emperor wasn't enough to make Zhao Feng yield. Finally, Great Emperor Ling Qiong's expression changed. She found that she had underestimated Zhao Feng. He was indeed worthy of being someone that Duke Nanfeng wanted to recruit. Back then, Zhao Feng could even reject the precious title of a duke. May I ask, Third Elder, what crime I have committed and how I should be punished? Zhao Feng said calmly. In the current situation, he didn't want to fight with an emperor, nor did he want to fight with the 10,000 sacred clan. After all, after Zhao Feng reincarnated, he used the 10,000 sacred clan as a springboard to take a huge leap forward. Zhao Feng, you left the team in the divine illusion dimension. Is that true? Great Emperor Ling Qiong asked. The magnificent power of an emperor on her body became stronger and stronger, pressuring Zhao Feng. If it was any other king, they would have already collapsed. But Zhao Feng's expression didn't change at all. Yes, Zhao Feng was very straightforward. You were disrespectful to the elders and severely injured Elder Wu. Is that true? Great Emperor Ling Qiong's voice turned cold. Yes. There was no hesitation in that voice. At this moment, the place was dead silent. Elder Wu and Elder Yin had gloating expressions on their faces. Everyone thought that Great Emperor Ling Qiong would side with Zhao Feng, but in reality, it was the opposite. Some of the clan members couldn't help but look at Zhao Feng with pity. Everyone knew that Zhao Feng had injured Elder Wu in self-defense. Very good, Zhao Feng. I admire your honesty. Although you were forced to do so, I can't easily convict you before the truth of the divine illusion dimension is confirmed. Great Emperor Ling Qiong's tone suddenly changed. Hearing this, Elder Wu, Elder Yin and company all started to agree. From the looks of it, Great Emperor Ling Qiong wanted to convict Zhao Feng. But the truth could only be confirmed by the other elites that entered the divine illusion dimension. After all, no one present could testify to what Zhao Feng said. Maybe Zhao Feng really did betray the 10,000 sacred clan, and betray them. I can't convict you now. Does that mean I can go back and cultivate? Zhao Feng said slowly. Zhao Feng didn't put Great Emperor Ling Qiong's punishment to heart. He wouldn't stay in the 10,000 sacred clan for too long. He would leave the 10,000 sacred clan after recovering his cultivation. Sure. Great Emperor Ling Qiong paused. She felt that this youth in front of her was ignoring her. However, Zhao Feng didn't show any obvious disrespect. The Void God Realm Kings present couldn't help but feel weird. Looking at Zhao Feng, he didn't seem worried about his future at all. Great Emperor Ling Qiong was slightly displeased by his calm and fearless demeanor. Before the truth comes to light, I will ground you for 2 months. You can't leave the 10,000 sacred clan, or else you will be considered a traitor and will be killed. Coldness appeared on Great Emperor Ling Qiong's face. The nearby kings all felt a terrifying pressure, and their hearts jumped out of their chests. Those that were familiar with Great Emperor Ling Qiong knew that Zhao Feng had made her unhappy. With her temper, it was very likely that she would teach Zhao Feng a lesson. 2 months. Zhao Feng's footsteps paused, and he left the black stage as if no one was present. In reality, Zhao Feng was planning to cultivate for 2 to 3 months, and raise his cultivation to the Void God realm. That way, his strength would be close to the peak of the left-eyed Heavenly Emperor. Whoosh! An ancient flying chariot appeared under Zhao Feng's feet, and merged into the depths of the 10,000 sacred clan. So fast. It's extremely close to the speed of an emperor. Some of the kings present couldn't help but be surprised. When did junior martial brother Zhao change mounts again? The eyes of some of the disciples were filled with envy and jealousy as they watched Zhao Feng fly away. Substandard God Crystal. Great Emperor Ling Qiong couldn't help but exclaim as she felt the faint undulations of God crystals coming from the flying flaming chariot. Substandard God crystals were basically the best legendary God crystals in the continent zone. Even emperors were extremely tempted by substandard God crystals. Even mystic light realm sacred lords needed substandard God crystals to cultivate. However, Zhao Feng had embedded a substandard God crystal into a flying chariot. The advantage of this was that the flying flaming chariot had an endless supply of energy, so Zhao Feng didn't need to put any true yuan into it. Great Emperor Ling Qiong and the other Void God realm experts locked onto Zhao Feng as he entered the depths of the 10,000 sacred clan with their divine senses. Zhao Feng didn't show any signs of leaving the clan, so Great Emperor Ling Qiong and company didn't stop him. In just a few dozen breaths, Zhao Feng's flaming chariot returned to the courtyard of a core disciple. Immediately, Zhao Feng put up the seclusion token, opened the array, and started to cultivate. Before cultivating, Zhao Feng's consciousness entered the substandard God Misty Spatial World's little world. These mountains, rivers, and lands were nurtured by plants and other living beings. Zhao Feng planted some treasures such as the green water sky lotus and the spiritual flesh snow jade lotus in the little world. Apart from that, the 5 poison distinct bees that he had obtained were also given a separate area to be raised, and they needed to be constantly supplied with pollen. Zhao Feng gave these tasks to the little thieving cat for now. Meow meow. The little thieving cat jumped around as it accepted its master's tasks, but it also asked for some resources. The resources it asked for were enough to make several Void God realm kings go bankrupt. Zhao Feng agreed without the slightest hesitation. The most important thing right now was to recover his strength, and the misty spatial world did indeed need to be taken care of. Within the courtyard within the room, Zhao Feng sat down cross-legged as wisps of faint green wood of wind lightning appeared around him. Shwa, shwa. King Wind Lightning Crystal Core, Boundless Wood, 100 Origin Honey Juice, Green Water Sky Lotus, and other top resources appeared in front of Zhao Feng. Apart from the Wind Lightning Crystal Core, most of the other resources could provide him with the essence of plants and other powerful effects that were beneficial to his cultivation, body, bloodline, and even soul. The power of wind lightning gathered in the air above Zhao Feng's courtyard and formed a vast ball of wind lightning. After recovering his emperor intent, Zhao Feng's cultivation didn't have any bottlenecks. What he needed to do was to accumulate and complete the sequence of the new cultivation technique, 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. More and more wood of wind lightning appeared within Zhao Feng's body, and its quality had reached the Void God realm. On top of that, the crystal core within Zhao Feng's body was different from normal techniques. His crystal core was split into 2 parts. One part was dark blue, and the other part was green. From the looks of it, it looked like a sapphire and an emerald put together. The dark blue part represented the water of wind lightning, and it took up 2/3 of its volume. The green part represented the wood of wind lightning, and it took up 1/3 of its volume. It was unbelievable. The dark blue water of wind lightning could be turned into the wood of wind lightning. Water to wood, wood to fire, fire to earth, earth to metal, metal to water. The path of Zhao Feng's 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique could be seen with one glance. Of course, the water of wind lightning could be turned into the wood of wind lightning, but the wood of wind lightning couldn't be turned into the water of wind lightning, unless the 5 elements of wind and lightning were all connected and formed a complete cycle. He would not be able to do so. At that time, Zhao Feng's true yuan reserves would far surpass those of the same cultivation, and he would be able to do whatever he wanted. 20 days after Zhao Feng entered seclusion, peak Great Origin Core Realm, Zhao Feng's aura rose dramatically, and the crystal core within his body expanded to the limit. Wang, the power of wind lightning formed a whirlpool in the air above the courtyard. The hearts of the nearby central disciples shook. Apart from some core disciples, most of the disciples of the 10,000 sacred clan hadn't even broken through to the Origin Core realm, let alone the peak Great Origin Core realm. Furthermore, the quality of Zhao Feng's true yuan was comparable to a Void God Realm King, and he only needed to wait for his crystal core to open up a dimension of true yuan. I'm just one step away from reaching the peak of my previous life, and then I'll surpass it. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled, and he couldn't help but feel excited. In this life, the technique he cultivated was even stronger, and his future was even greater. After the divine illusion dimension, he had more resources than he had in his previous life. Just as Zhao Feng was trying to break through to the Void God realm. On this day, a powerful Fire Dao Emperor aura appeared in the sky above the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The sky above the 10,000 Sacred Clan was covered in a scarlet-red light that radiated a powerful aura of the Dao of Fire. The hearts of the upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan shook. Some kings and emperors were shocked, and they used their divine senses to check with solemn expressions. Right now, the 10,000 Sacred Clan had 3 emperors. 2 of them were in seclusion, and one of them was Emperor Ling Qiong. Why is the emperor of the Tai family Tai Litian here? Emperor Ling Qiong's expression changed dramatically. The legendary emperor in front of them was famous, and he came from one of the 8 big families, the Tai family. An elder in dark red battle robes could be faintly seen within the scarlet red light. The aura of this Fire Dao Emperor was obviously stronger than Emperor Ling Qiong's, and the latter's breathing quickened. I came all the way from the West Mountain Palace, and found out that the Blood Devil Sun bloodline of my family appeared in the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. So I investigated several times and came here. Now the truth has been revealed. The elder in battle robes, Tai Litian, laughed loudly and shook the entire 10,000 Sacred Clan. Chapter 875. Blood Devil Sun Bloodline? The experts of the 10,000 Sacred Clan looked at each other and started to discuss. The kings led by King Luyan soon thought of a person. The Blood Devil Sun bloodline was ranked 81st on the Imperial Dao bloodline rankings, and it was one of the top legendary bloodlines in the continent zone. However, there was indeed a youth that seemed to have the Blood Devil Sun bloodline in the 10,000 Sacred Clan. As for the young man, he had just been given a house arrest order. May I ask what the truth that Elder Tai is talking about is? A solemn expression appeared on Emperor Ling Qiong's face. Great Emperor Ling Qiong was fearful of Tai Litian and the Tai family behind him. All of the 8 big families in the Great Gon Lord dynasty were comparable to 3-star sects and had great influence in the Lord dynasty. Amongst them, the Tai family was one of the top families, and it was comparable to a peak 3-star force. In the faraway West Mountain Palace, the Tai family guarded the northwestern border of the Lord dynasty, and they were the main pillar against the invasion of the Dark Moon Lord dynasty. The elites of the Tai family were trained in the flames of war, and their strength surpassed those of the same generation. In comparison, the declining 10,000 Sacred Clan couldn't even compare to a normal 3-star force, let alone the Tai family. Therefore, at this point in time, the atmosphere in front of the 10,000 Sacred Clan was tense. The Tai family wasn't a force that the 10,000 Sacred Clan could offend, and Tai Litian's battle power was enough to crush normal emperors. I want to find Zhao Feng, bring him back to the Tai family and raise him. Tai Litian's eyes were filled with heat and expectation. Thinking about the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline he sensed half a month ago, he couldn't contain the excitement in his heart. Zhao Feng? I'm afraid that won't work. Emperor Ling Qiong's expression changed once more, and she answered without thinking. Not long ago, some news about the divine illusion dimension had spread. The most important piece of news was the ancient god palace's Xieyang Palace, and the black serpent dragon that possessed the bloodline of the destruction dragon race. The shocking benefits of Xieyang Palace, the power of the evil god, the ancient god weapon, and the substandard god weapon caused huge waves in the upper echelons of the Lord dynasties. Great Emperor Ling Qiong learned that a duo called the Purple-Haired Demonic Duo had a place in the fight for resources in Xieyang Palace, and they were even stronger than the other super families and super sections. Coincidentally, one of the purple-haired demonic duo, had a person with the same name as Zhao Feng. Great Empress Ling Qiong guessed that Zhao Feng might be one of the purple-haired demonic duo and possessed unfathomable strength. No. Ha ha ha. Does the 10,000 Sacred Clan want to stop our Tai family? Tai Litian raised his head and laughed out loud. Bzz. In an instant, Tai Litian's body emitted a dazzling and glaring scarlet light that overshadowed the radiance of the blazing sun. With an earth-shattering might, the space around the mountain gate turned into a sea of fire hell. Hundreds and thousands of sect disciples were being burned by the blazing sun. The members of the sects couldn't bear the heat. No matter how hard they struggled, they couldn't break out of the inferno. Stop! Great Emperor Ling Qiong spread her arms, and the image of a crystalline little world, stacked on top of the mountain gate, to block the scarlet light from Tai Litian. However, this also meant that she had to face Tai Litian's attack. Boom! Great Emperor Ling Qiong harumphed as her body trembled, and her little world started to tremble. You're not my match. Tell Zhao Feng to come out and talk to me. Tai Litian placed his hands behind his back, and the scarlet light around him suddenly retracted. He seemed to become a blinding ball of sun. However, right at this moment, the aura of a third emperor appeared in the depths of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The 10,000 Sacred Clan has fallen to such a state. A measly emperor dares to come and steal from us? An old and tired voice sounded from the depths of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Although this emperor's aura wasn't as strong as Tai Litian's, it was more mysterious. Wang, an elder with white hair and orange light, appeared in the air above the mountain gate, and he radiated an emperor's magnificent power. This was the projection of an emperor. Old Monster Su, you're still alive after failing to break through to the mystic light realm? Tai Litian revealed a weird expression, and wariness finally appeared in his eyes. In the Tianfeng Great Island Zone, only Duke Namfeng was able to make him wary. However, this old monster Su wasn't simple either. He was once a peak emperor, but he had failed to break through to the mystic light realm, and was reaching the end of his lifespan. Furthermore, the 10,000 Sacred Clan had 3 emperors, and Great Emperor Ling Qiong was the weakest. Several breaths later, the divine senses of several emperors interacted in the air above the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The other Void God Realm kings could only feel the disturbance of their divine senses, but they couldn't hear anything. A long time later, the elder with white hair and orange light spoke. Sure, as you wish. Shua. As soon as he finished speaking, old monster Su's emperor projection disappeared. Who knew what kind of agreement these Void God Realm emperors had come to? Tell Zhao Feng to come out and make a choice. Great Emperor Ling Qiong said with a cold expression. Due to being wary of the Tai family, the 10,000 Sacred Clan had to make a compromise. However, the 10,000 Sacred Clan couldn't just hand over Zhao Feng. They had to let him make a choice. Tai Litian was very confident and agreed to the deal. A while later, reporting to Emperor, the area where Zhao Feng is cultivating is very powerful, and it's hard to get close. A half-step king arrived and said in a slightly panicked tone, Great Emperor Ling Qiong, and Tai Litian's divine senses scanned toward a certain area. There was an enormous whirlpool of wind lightning there, and it contained a large amount of wood energy. Ha ha ha. As expected of a disciple of the Tai family, he already has the intent to break through to the Void God Realm at such a young age. Tai Litian roared with laughter. Hearing that, the upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, Great Emperor Ling Qiong, and the kings all had ugly expressions. Indeed, the 10,000 Sacred Clan didn't take advantage of such a genius. Shua. Tai Litian and Great Emperor Ling Qiong landed in the air above Zhao Feng's courtyard. Within the room, Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. He withdrew his true yuan and walked into the courtyard, then raised his head to look at the 2 emperors in the air. You're that Zhao Feng? Very good, very good. Tai Litian had a praising expression, and his eyes flashed with excitement. Zhao Feng's hair stood on end. Tai Litian's strength had almost reached the level of a peak emperor, and he was much stronger than Emperor Mu Yin back in the day. Just when Zhao Feng was confused, a voice rang out. Shua. Tai Litian waved his hand, and an old figure appeared from his little world. Grandpa Zhao? Zhao Feng was slightly surprised and couldn't help but exclaim. Grandpa Zhao was the grandfather of the original Zhao Feng. The original Zhao Feng's parents had died when he was young, and his grandfather had raised him. The relationship between them was even better than that of father and son. Feng, do you remember the name of your birth mother that your grandfather once told you? Grandpa Zhao let out a long sigh with a complicated expression. Firstly, he knew the secret of Zhao Feng's current body. Secondly, Zhao Feng's identity wasn't as simple as it seemed. Name. Zhao Feng started to reminisce. He had cultivated the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, so he could recall even the deepest memories. Soon, Zhao Feng received the answer. His mother's name was Tai Xiuli. Her surname is Tai. Emperor Ling Qiong and company from the 10,000 Sacred Clan were stunned in disbelief. I didn't think that your mother would be the daughter of the Tai family, one of the 8 big families. Grandpa Zhao sighed. It was obvious that he had just heard this news. Junior, you're a disciple of the Tai family, and have the Blood Devil Sun bloodline. You should be proud and honored. Tai Litian laughed brightly. Victory was already in his hands. Zhao Feng stood there and paused for a while. He was tempted by his own bloodline, and he was prepared to go to the family to investigate it when he had the time. He didn't expect that. After this bloodline that was suspected to be the Blood Devil Sun bloodline spread out, the experts of the Iron family coincidentally noticed it. Knowing this, the upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan couldn't help but sigh. Without even thinking, Zhao Feng would definitely choose to go to the Tai family instead of staying in a peak 2-star force. Furthermore, Emperor Ling Qiong had ordered Zhao Feng to be grounded not long ago. No wonder Tai Litian was so confident and made such an agreement with the 10,000 Sacred Clan, giving Zhao Feng the choice. Feng, why aren't you leaving with this emperor? Grandpa Zhao reminded. He even signaled to Zhao Feng with his eyes. His meaning was obvious. Joining a super force like the Tai family would be of great help to him and the Zhao clan. Tai Litian smiled faintly and was filled with confidence as he waited for Zhao Feng's reply. On the other hand, Emperor Ling Qiong and company from the 10,000 Sacred Clan had ugly expressions, but they were already mentally prepared. Sorry, but I'm not interested in these things at all. Right now my focus is on cultivation. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned over the 2 emperors in the sky. Then he turned around and left behind a dazzling figure. The upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, watching this scene, all had gaping mouths. Tai Litian's expression became even more colorful. He seemed to choke as he floated in the air with a red face. He didn't choose to go with you, according to our agreement. Emperor Ling Qiong was surprised, but she had a faint smile. She didn't think that Zhao Feng wasn't interested in returning to the Tai family at all. But he didn't choose to stay in the 10,000 Sacred Clan either. Tai Litian snickered coldly and left with Grandpa Zhao. According to the agreement, he didn't lose either. Zhao Feng didn't have a choice between the 10,000 Sacred Clan and the Tai family. Or rather, he wasn't interested in choosing. Within the room, Zhao Feng continued to cultivate. After Tai Litian left, the 10,000 Sacred Clan regained its peace. Emperor Ling Qiong immediately ordered the area around Zhao Feng's courtyard to be cleared, and no one was allowed to disturb him. This Zhao Feng doesn't even care about a powerful emperor like Tai Litian. Could he really be one of the purple-haired demonic duo, and one of the biggest beneficiaries of Xieyang Palace? Emperor Ling Qiong had a feeling that the 10,000 Sacred Clan couldn't contain this dragon anymore. Time passed by. More and more news regarding the Divine Illusion Dimension spread from the continent to the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. The news shocked Emperor Ling Qiong and the upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. At this point in time, the Divine Illusion Dimension had ended almost 2 months ago. Within the room, Zhao Feng's cultivation had reached the final stage. 2 powerful surges of wind lightning true yuan surged within the crystal core within his body, and formed a dimension that could contain the entire true yuan. This was because Zhao Feng had emperor intent, and he was comparable to a half-step king after breaking through to the peak Great Origin Core realm. The past 2 months of cultivation had almost allowed him to reach the level of a king, and he was only missing the solidification of his true Yuan dimension. Chapter 876. 10,000 Sacred Clan. The area where Zhao Feng was cultivating had been cleared out by the sect's upper echelons. There wasn't a second sect member within a 100-mile radius. Buzzing in the sky above the courtyard was an enormous whirlpool of wind and lightning that was deep like the ocean. As it breathed in and out, the vast and boundless energy of wind and lightning in the heavens and the earth gushed in, and then it eliminated strands of the impurities in the vast origin energy. This powerful aura made normal Void God Realm kings feel pressured and unable to get close. From time to time, waves of divine will would sweep towards the area where Zhao Feng was cultivating. It's hard to imagine that such a young man possesses the ability to make a breakthrough to the king realm. And he's not far from success either. The wind lightning cultivation technique that he cultivates seems to possess a realm that surpasses common sense. The upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, and some kings and elders started to talk. It had been almost 2 months since the divine illusion dimension ended. While Zhao Feng was meditating, important news came from the central region of the continent. Within a crystal palace at the peak of a mountain in the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Third Elder. According to the news from the central continent and the Earth Spirit Hall, the purple-haired demonic duo was the biggest beneficiary of Xieyang Palace. My sex Zhao Feng is definitely one of the purple-haired demonic duo, and he might even be their leader. A half-step king half-kneeled on the ground full of reverence. The leader of the demonic duo? Are you sure the information is accurate? Great Emperor Ling Qiong was speechless. Even though she had been mentally prepared, she did not expect that Zhao Feng was not only one of the demonic duo, but also their leader. What was even more unbelievable was that this duo had become the biggest beneficiaries of Xieyang Palace. From the fragmented information, either one of the demonic duo had the strength of a normal Void God Realm Emperor. Gu Chaoji from Earth Spirit Hall has interacted with the purple-haired demonic duo before, so he's very familiar with them. The half-step King Realm said confidently. The Earth Spirit Hall was a 3-star super sect at the edge of the continent zone. It was not far from the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. On the same day, the upper echelon elders of the 10,000 Sacred Clan held an emergency meeting. However, after confirming Zhao Feng's identity, the upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan didn't dare to act rashly. Firstly, Zhao Feng's immeasurable strength and the trump cards he had obtained from Xieyang Palace. Secondly, Zhao Feng's background wasn't simple. He had an emperor's teacher and Duke Nanfeng as his backing. Thirdly, the relationship with the Tai family. The Tai clan was a peak existence among the 8 great clans of the dynasty. They were the mainstay of the northwestern region's resistance against the Dark Moon dynasty. The emperor of the Tai family, Tai Litian, was near the 10,000 Sacred Clan and hadn't left yet. Between the clouds, Tai Litian, who was wearing a dark red battle robe, stood in the sea of clouds and looked down at the 10,000 Sacred Clan below. I didn't expect this youth with the Tai family's bloodline to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of the ancient god mansion, Xieyang Palace. I've still underestimated him. Tai Litian muttered and his face turned solemn. The issue of Zhao Feng's return to the Tai family had become complicated. Even some 3-star and 4-star super forces couldn't resist the temptation of Xieyang Palace. Furthermore, the purple-haired demonic duo had a lot of enemies in the divine illusion dimension. In the mainland of the continent zone, there was an endless mountain range that was shrouded in dark mist all year round. Demonic chi filled this mountain range, and even ghosts and gods would retreat. This was the most famous sacred ground of the demonic Dao in the Lord Dynasty, the 9 Darkness Mountain Range. When talking about the 9 Darkness Mountain Range, one had to talk about the ruling force here, 9 Darkness Palace. 9 Darkness Palace was one of the strongest demonic Dao forces in the Great Gon Lord Dynasty, and it was a 4-star power at its peak. Even in this era, 9 Darkness Palace was a peak 3-star superpower, and one of the top 3-star powers. It had the power to command all the demonic Dao forces in the Lord dynasty. However, on this day, enraged, roaring, and murderous voices came from a core secret hall of the Nine Nether Palace. The elite group of Nine Darkness Palace was slaughtered by Nan Gongsheng, one of the demonic duo, in Xieyang Palace. Jiu Wuji had the strength of a peak-tier king, but he couldn't even fight back against that brat. Looks like the power of the evil god's inheritance is real. The owners of these voices were at least peak-tier kings, and many of them were emperors. Some of them had auras even higher. Some of the demonic Dao emperors in the hall had just come out of seclusion, and they were enraged when they heard the news. If normal kings were to be in this hall, their hearts would jump, and they would start panting. Reporting to Grand Elder, a king half knelt on the ground and said in a trembling voice, "We haven't found out where Nan Gongsheng of the purple-haired demonic duo came from. However, we seem to have found traces of him in the center of the Lord dynasty." Nan Gongsheng, the upper echelon of Nine Darkness Palace, all remembered this name. This name had wiped out the entire group of Nine Darkness Palace elites that had entered Xieyang Palace by himself. From their initial analysis, Nan Gongsheng's battle power was comparable to an emperor. Apart from that, the other purple-haired demonic duo, Zhaofeng, is currently in the 10,000 sacred clan of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. That's Duke Namfeng's territory. That king half knelt on the ground. He looked at the Grand Supreme Elder in awe, who was sitting at the head of the table, like a cluster of illusory demonic light. The Grand Elder's aura was limitless, and his body seemed to be weightless. He was like a ball of demonic light that had surpassed the limits of flesh and blood. If it wasn't for the fact that one's gaze landed on the Grand Elder, they would have forgotten about him. However, from the beginning to the end, the Supreme Elder did not say anything. There were two other extremely powerful existences on his left and right. One was the black-robed demonic lord, who was in a whirlpool of black light, and the other was a beautiful demonic beauty, who was sitting in a purple-black lotus. Below the three supreme magnates were other great emperors, including some ancient top great emperors. We need at least several peak emperors to kill Nan Gongsheng. In order to be safe, we need to send a mystic light realm sacred lord. The beautiful witch sitting cross-legged in the purple-black lotus flames didn't open her mouth, but her invisible voice pierced through the soul and the material plane. Mystic light realm sacred lord. The hearts of all the kings and emperors present shook. Under normal circumstances, sending out several peak great emperors would be shocking news. Peak emperors were usually at the level of Duan Muqing, the Wind Lightning Emperor, or even the Emperor of Death. According to their understanding of Nan Gongsheng's strength, 2 or 3 peak emperors would be more than enough to kill him. However, the enraged upper echelon of Nine Darkness Palace placed great importance on this matter. As for the other person of the demonic duo, Zhaofeng, he's said to be extremely mysterious and not to be underestimated. The black-robed demon king, who was in the black whirlpool, nodded. At this moment, the two mystic light realm sacred lords looked at each other and made a decision. Sitting in the middle, the Grand Supreme Elder, who was like an illusory demonic light, finally spat out a word, "All right." As soon as he finished speaking, the unfathomable Grand Supreme Elder disappeared without a trace. If demigod Kuan Yun was here, he would be able to see through this person's strength and even be moved. Great Gon Lord Dynasty, Sky Suspension Palace. Within a group of palaces that floated above the clouds, this place was like a celestial realm that reigned above the thousands of clans and races of the mortal world. On top of a lone peak, 2 ordinary people with ordinary auras were sitting there playing chess. One of the 2 mortals was a fat man with a fat face and big ears, and the other was a lifeless old man who looked like a withered tree. Whoosh! Right at this moment, the aura of a void god realm emperor descended on the lone peak. Reporting to the 2 ancestors, I can roughly sense the location of the black destruction serpent dragon. Apart from that, there are also traces of Nan Gongsheng, who possesses the inheritance of the evil god. This emperor's aura was even stronger than Tai Litian's, and was close to the Emperor of Death's level. From the looks of the mark of destruction, The strength of that black loach hasn't recovered to the level of a demigod yet. We still have a chance of sealing it now. The withered old man said. The price to seal this black loach is too high. We need to pull those old undyings from the Grand Imperial Hall down with us. They definitely won't sit by and watch the Lord dynasty be destroyed. The fat man with a fat face and big ears spoke in a treacherous tone. The two mortals looked at each other and quickly came to an agreement, nodding their heads. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng was still cultivating in the 10,000 sacred clan far away. He didn't know that he was at the center of the whirlpool of the Lord dynasty. He only had one goal left in his heart, and that was to recover his peak strength from his previous life or even surpass it. It's about time. Zhao Feng circulated the two surges of wind lightning within his body, the wood of wind lightning and the water of wind lightning. The crystal core within his dantian had stabilized, and its size hadn't changed. However, a drastic change had occurred within the crystal core. The true yuan within had turned into a lake and a dimension of its own. As the true yuan dimension stabilized, Zhao Feng would step into the realm of a true king. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. On this day, the sound of flying came from the sky above the 10,000 sacred clan. Surges of shocking auras covered the sky above the 10,000 sacred clan. The owners of these auras were at least at the void god realm, and there were 4 or 5 emperors. That's Tai Litian, who was floating in the sky, revealed a surprised expression. He had already recognized the origin of this force. In the entire continent, there were only a few 3-star sections. It's a void god realm expert from the Earth Spirit Hall. The entire 10,000 sacred clan was in chaos, and even Emperor Ling Qiong panicked. Earth Spirit Hall is coming with such ferocious momentum. I'm afraid they don't have good intentions. Great Emperor Ling Qiong felt a chill in her heart. The Earth Spirit Hall was the only 3-star sect nearby. It was even stronger than the mystic true sacred clan that Zhao Feng was from. 10,000 sacred clan? This is the sect that Zhao Feng belongs to? Gu Chaoji stood in the middle of the kings and emperors, and his divine sense scanned the 10,000 sacred clan below, even though he was deeply afraid of Zhao Feng. However, the difference in strength between the two sects was like an abyss. Earth Spirit Hall versus 10,000 Sacred Sect. 3-star versus 2-star. This was definitely a merciless suppression. 10,000 Sacred Clan. Hand over Zhao Feng of the purple-haired demonic duo. Surges of magnificent power from the Earth Spirit Hall descended, and their voices resounded through heaven and earth, causing the entrance of the 10,000 Sacred Clan to shake. The upper echelon of the 10,000 Sacred Clan wasn't surprised that the Earth Spirit Hall wanted Zhao Feng. The gazes of Emperor Ling Qiong and company instinctively looked toward where Zhao Feng was cultivating, and they found that the whirlpool of wind lightning was slowly fading away. At this moment, Zhao Feng had already completed his breakthrough, and he had even calmly concealed his aura. This wasn't something that a newly ascended king could do. Chapter 877. In reality, Zhao Feng had already broken through to the Void God Realm 2 days ago. Void God Realm kings didn't pose any bottlenecks to his soul at all. Zhao Feng's focus was on solidifying his true Yuan dimension. Back in the Divine Illusion dimension, Zhao Feng had been chasing after the strength of his true Yuan in order to increase his explosive power in a short period of time. Before the Great Origin Core Realm, the quality of his true Yuan was already comparable to a Void God Realm king. Now that he had reached the Void God Realm, the quality of his true Yuan was even higher, and it was comparable to normal domain-level kings. Wang, Bo, the water of wind lightning, and the wood of wind lightning intertwined on the surface of Zhao Feng's body and gave off a smooth glow. Over the past 2 months of seclusion, Zhao Feng's wood of wind lightning had broken through to the early stages of the 7th level, and it was even close to the late stages. Starting from the 7th level of the 5 elemental wind lightning technique, each level represented a different element of wind lightning, and it was split into the early stages, late stages, and peak stages. The 7th level of the 5 elemental wind lightning technique was equivalent to the 5th level of the sacred lightning body. The increase in his cultivation meant that Zhao Feng's state of existence, body, and soul had both been strengthened to a certain degree. Zhao Feng's golden koan sacred lightning body had reached the late stages of the 5th level after using a large amount of 100 origin fruit juice and other treasures. It could be said that Zhao Feng's sacred lightning body was formed by using large amounts of top-tier resources and treasures. In terms of the soul, Zhao Feng was on par with an emperor. In fact, his soul might even be a little weaker. Unknowingly, the emperor had mostly recovered under the refinement. Originally, Zhao Feng's strength wouldn't increase by much after breaking through to the Void God realm. After all, the quality of his true yuan was comparable to a king, and it mainly increased his foundation and battle power. However, in the process of breaking through to the Void God realm, Zhao Feng used a large amount of resources, which created a chain reaction. As a result, his physique, soul, and other aspects have been greatly enhanced. My current strength should have recovered 60 to 70% of my previous life strength. In some aspects, such as physique, I have an advantage over my previous life. Zhao Feng had a rough estimate in his heart. At this moment, surges of magnificent power from the Void God realm appeared in the air above the 10,000 sacred clan, and there were 4 or 5 emperor intents among them. 10,000 sacred clan, hand over Zhao Feng of the purple-haired demonic duo. The purple-haired demonic duo have committed countless crimes in the divine illusion dimension. They have robbed everywhere and harmed the interests of many sections. They should be captured and killed as an example. Humph! How can a mere 2-star sect protect a treasure like a substandard divine artifact? The Void God realm experts of Earth Spirit Hall floated in the air and looked down arrogantly at the 10,000 sacred clan. Some of these voices didn't even try to hide their intentions to snatch the substandard god artifact. One could foresee that the world of sects in the Great Gan dynasty, where the strong preyed on the weak, was even crueler than the bordering seas. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Void God realm experts of the 10,000 sacred clan had to appear in this situation. After all, the 10,000 sacred clan was a 3-star sect that had once been glorious. They had 3 emperors and more than a dozen Void God realm kings. At this moment, 2 emperors had appeared. Apart from Emperor Ling Qiong, there was also a youth in black robes. Wang Boom, a white-haired old man glowing with orange light, appeared in the air amidst a vast and mighty force. 2 emperors and 1 emperor projection. Old Monster Su. It looks like your lifespan is reaching its end after failing to break through to the mystic light realm. You can't use your full power so easily. An emperor in golden robes from Earth Spirit Hall smiled faintly. This emperor in golden robes gave off a golden light that covered half the sky and suppressed the other emperors. He was a peak emperor. Zhang Xiandong, one of the 3 peak emperors of Earth Spirit Hall. Emperor Ling Qiong and the youth in black robes next to her looked at each other with solemn expressions. The battle power of peak emperors far surpassed normal emperors, and they were extremely rare amongst Void God realm emperors. In the Lord dynasty, mystic light realm sacred lords were usually in seclusion and comprehended the path to godhood. They rarely interfered with the outside world. Therefore, under normal situations, peak emperors were almost unrivaled in the world. The 10,000 sacred clan originally had a peak emperor, Old Monster Su. Unfortunately, his lifespan was reaching its end, so his strength was greatly reduced. The 10,000 sacred clan seems to have met some trouble. Zhao Feng walked out from the room. At this moment, the entire 10,000 sacred clan was filled with surges of magnificent power. The hearts of the disciples shook, and they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Luckily, the confrontation between these kings was taking place in the sky. Zhao Feng. Gu Chaoji from Earth Spirit Hall exclaimed as soon as Zhao Feng appeared. Gu Chaoji's eyes were filled with respect, wariness, and excitement. Back in the divine illusion dimension, Zhao Feng had interacted with Gu Chaoji before. At the last moment in Xieyang Palace, Gu Chaoji was forced by the Black Serpent Dragon to betray the humans and hand over the key to the Yuan sealing divine chains. These scenes flashed through Zhao Feng's mind. He's that Zhao Feng? one of the purple-haired demonic duo? The gazes of the kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall landed on Zhao Feng. 2 months had passed since the end of the divine illusion dimension, and the legends of the purple-haired demonic duo had spread throughout the upper echelon of the Great Gon Lord dynasty. Of the purple-haired demonic duo, the purple-haired youth was unfathomable, and he was even the mastermind. Some people called the purple-haired youth Zhao Feng, while others called him Zhao Feng. However, that wasn't important anymore. The important thing was that he had become one of the biggest beneficiaries of Xieyang Palace. Looks like I can't stay in the 10,000 sacred clan anymore, Zhao Feng murmured in a low tone. He had used the 10,000 sacred clan as a stepping stone to soar, but as one of the biggest beneficiaries of Xieyang Palace, he had also brought disaster to the 10,000 sacred clan. Zhao Feng, the 10,000 sacred clan probably won't be able to protect you. However, as a member of the 10,000 sacred clan, we will do our best to protect you. The Orange Emperor projection of Old Monster, Su sent a message to Zhao Feng. In the air, the expressions of the 3 emperors from the 10,000 sacred clan were dim. Earth Spirit Hall was 1 star higher than the 10,000 sacred clan, and they had no chance of winning if they fought head-on. The fact that the 10,000 sacred clan was willing to help Zhao Feng escape was already the best they could do. Zhao Feng, if you can escape to the Duke's palace, you'll be able to keep your life, Emperor Ling Qiong warned. The Duke's Palace was the ruling organization of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone in name, and it represented the Imperials. Escape? A mocking smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. For some reason, he thought back to the pursuit of death in the Tsang Ocean. Thank you for your good intentions. These clowns don't have the right to make me escape. Zhao Feng shook his head and smiled as he bowed slightly from Emperor Ling Qiong and company. Hearing that, the experts from both sides broke out into discussion. Arrogant brat. Arrogant brat. A brat that just became a king doesn't know how high heaven is. The kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall laughed, instead of being angry. Boom. Whoosh. More than 10 king intent and 2 or 3 emperor intents instantly crushed toward Zhao Feng. That will pierce through the void. The soul level exploded and triggered the invisible power of earth and heaven Upanishad, which was enough to shatter the mountains and crack the ground. Boom. Boom. The area around Zhao Feng instantly crumbled and turned into dust under the barrage of intents. Not good. Tai Litian in dark red battle robes couldn't help but exclaim at the peak of the cloud sea. With so many king intents and emperor intents joining in, the mental energy of a normal king would crumble, and their souls might even shatter. Emperor Ling Qiong and company from the 10,000 sacred clan were caught off guard. Zhao Feng's words enraged the crowd. The kings and martial emperors of the Earth Spirit Hall were eager to kill him and take the substandard god weapon and other treasures. Zhao Feng stood still. His soul aura was like a bottomless ocean, and his body was like an ancient mountain that wouldn't change. The pressure from the intents targeted the soul, and it was accompanied by the power of heaven and earth. However, it was like a stone sinking into the ocean when it landed on Zhao Feng. Boom. Whoosh. 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 The intents of the kings and emperors all returned after a round of attacks. How is this possible? The Void God Realm Masters of Earth Spirit Hall were speechless. Even normal emperors wouldn't be able to withstand the barrage of so many intents, and their soul would be damaged. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, was standing where he was safe and sound, without the slightest movement. At this moment, everyone from the 10,000 sacred clan and Earth Spirit Hall acted as if they had seen a ghost. To be able to do this, one's soul has reached the level of a peak emperor. Great Emperor Ling Qiong took a deep breath. In the Earth Spirit Hall, the golden-robed Emperor Zhang Xiandong and the others couldn't help but put away their underestimation. Their expressions even became solemn. At first glance, Zhao Feng had just entered virtual god level. However, if one looked closely, they would find that his true yuan was extremely condensed and stronger than normal kings. His control had reached an unbelievable level. Gu Chaoji, take your fellow disciples away. I don't want to start a massacre. Zhao Feng strolled forward and stared at Gu Chaoji. Start a massacre? Gu Chaoji's hair stood on end from his stare. For some unknown reason, under the protection of so many seniors and emperors, he didn't feel safe at all when Zhao Feng stared at him. Time seemed to return to Xieyang Palace. Back to when Zhao Feng used the gaze of the god eye to extract the souls of the Blue Serpent King and the Azure Serpent King. The fear from that time seemed to still exist until now. Start a massacre? The kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall had disdainful expressions, as if they had heard the biggest joke in the world. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng slowly took a step forward. Shua. All that was left was an afterimage of lightning. The Void God Realm King's eyes blurred, and they weren't able to see Zhao Feng's movement at all. In the next instant, Zhao Feng appeared in the sky between the 10,000 Sacred Clan and Earth Spirit Hall. SII. The kings and emperors from both sides took in a cold breath. There was no other reason. The speed that Zhao Feng just displayed was too shocking. Apart from the peak Emperor Zhang Xiandong of Earth Spirit Hall, all the other kings and emperors weren't as fast. Cold sweat started to appear on Gu Chaoji's forehead. Under Zhao Feng's gaze, the fear in his heart started to spread. He didn't dare to doubt that Zhao Feng had the ability to start a massacre. Earth Spirit Hall's group fell into a momentary silence. Maybe it was because of Zhao Feng's unfathomable strength, or maybe it was because of his speed. However, would a group from a 3-star power be scared by a junior that had just become a king? The answer was obvious. Chapter 878. In the air above the 10,000 Sacred Clan, whoosh! With one step, Zhao Feng appeared between the two Void God realms. Start a massacre? The experts from Earth Spirit Hall and the 10,000 Sacred Clan fell into a momentary silence. Both sides had non-committal expressions on their faces. Those from the 10,000 Sacred Clan were thinking about what Zhao Feng was planning. The kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall paused for a moment, and the mockery and disdain on their faces became even stronger. Although Zhao Feng's speed was extremely fast, he was still minuscule compared to so many Void God realms from Earth Spirit Hall, including several emperors and a peak emperor. Ha ha ha! Zhang Xiandong, the golden-robed emperor of Earth Spirit Hall, raised his head and laughed. Foolish junior! Do you think that you can scare away so many people from Earth Spirit Hall with just a simple threat? The Void God Realm experts of the Earth Spirit Hall burst into laughter when they heard this. The answer was certain. How could the upper echelon of a 3-star super sect, Earth Spirit Hall, be scared off by a single sentence from a junior? However, only Gu Chaoji couldn't smile from Earth Spirit Hall's side. Scenes from the Divine Illusion dimension flashed through his mind. The purple-haired youth seemed to have an indescribable calmness and confidence at all times. Even at this moment, there wasn't any panic on his face. A faint smile appeared on the purple-haired youth's face. You won't today, but you will in the future. As soon as he finished speaking, whoosh, 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 Zhao Feng took another step forward and left behind a blurry afterimage in the air. At this moment, Zhao Feng's speed wasn't just shockingly fast. He also merged the profound laws of wind lightning and the Tao of illusions into his movement technique. Everyone watch out! Most of the sovereign martial emperors on the Earth Spirit Hall's side could not see Zhao Feng's movement technique. Now that Zhao Feng's emperor intent had mostly recovered, he was at a higher level. Apart from the peak emperor Zhang Xiandong, no one else could compare to him. Whoosh! Suddenly, a layer of glittering golden physical force lightning patterns appeared on one of the wind lightning afterimages. That soul force electric pattern was bright gold and blue, and its power was terrifying. The moment it exploded, the sky ethereal realm nearby had a faint roar. Not good! Zhang Xiandong and the other martial emperors of the Earth Spirit Hall exclaimed at the same time. They could feel the terrifying power of the bright golden blue force. However, their warning was already too late. Boom! The instant the sacred lightning body erupted, Zhao Feng's speed increased explosively. Boom! Zhao Feng tore apart a Void God Realm King that was caught off guard with a single punch. Ah! The Void God Realm King wasn't able to block the physical force of the late stages of the 5th level of the Sacred Lightning Body, and his body was crushed into mush. With a simple punch, Zhao Feng didn't even use True Yuan. He only used his body to kill a late-stage Void God Realm Domain level king. Hiss! The battlefield became dead silent. Both friend and foe alike were dazed as they watched Zhao Feng kill a domain level king, with terrifying speed and power. Everyone thought that Zhao Feng would have extraordinary strength and speed. However, no one would have thought that an experienced domain level king wouldn't even be able to fight back against Zhao Feng and would be instantly killed. Gu Chaoji's heart went cold, especially Earth Spirit Hall's Gu Chaoji. He had clearly seen Zhao Feng's nonchalant expression after killing a domain-level king. It was as if killing a domain-level king was the same as killing a pig or dog in Zhao Feng's eyes. In the Divine Illusion dimension, from the underground city to Xieyang Palace, this youth seemed to always be confident and calm. The first one. Zhao Feng's tone was calm. If you retreat now, you still have a chance. The group from Earth Spirit Hall went silent for a moment before exploding with rage and charging at Zhao Feng. This brat's speed is shocking. Surround him. The golden-robed emperor, Zhang Xiandong, roared in anger. However, the purple-haired youth didn't panic at all. Instead, a smile of mockery appeared on his face. Wings of wind and lightning. A pair of lifelike wings of wind and lightning formed behind Zhao Feng's back, and they created a powerful gust of wind and lightning. At this moment, lightning clouds started to roll across heaven and earth, as the water of wind and lightning of wind and lightning of wind turned into two beams of light that shot into the sky. The power of the wings of wind and lightning was comparable to peak emperors. Normal Void God Realm kings wouldn't even be able to get close to Zhao Feng. However, the wings of wind and lightning were only used by Zhao Feng to increase his speed. Pa! Whoosh! The wings of wind and lightning, and the golden blue physical force, pushed Zhao Feng's speed to the maximum. Stop! One of the emperors and several Void God Realm kings barely managed to block Zhao Feng's path. Boom! Zhao Feng wasn't scared at all. He laughed loudly and knocked away the emperor at the front. What? The Void God Realm Emperor exclaimed as he retreated. Although Zhao Feng hadn't done any real damage to him, he was able to push away an emperor with just his physical strength alone. This was too shocking. With the wings of wind and lightning, and the physical force of the Sacred Lightning Force, Zhao Feng's speed and power were able to knock away an emperor. This scene made the expressions of the experts on both sides change dramatically. The 5th level of the Sacred Lightning Body corresponds to the Void God Realm. At the late stages of the 5th level, one can fight against normal emperors with just their physical force and crush any king below the emperor realm. Zhao Feng felt the limitless power within his body. Every breath he took, every movement he made had the power to move mountains and break rivers, and he didn't need any extra true essence. This was the path that the demigod Kuan Yin walked in the past. The golden Kuan Sacred Lightning Body that Zhao Feng cultivated was an upgraded version of the original golden Kuan body. Junior stay. Although the emperor was pushed back, there was still a domain-level king and a peak-tier king next to him. These two Void God Realm kings specialized in speed. The emperor's attack just barely stopped Zhao Feng, giving the two kings a chance to stop him. Kill. Zhao Feng didn't dodge at all. He circulated his sacred lightning force and punched toward the two kings. The two Void God Realm kings knew how strong Zhao Feng was, so they used all their strength to defend. Illusion Maze Domain. However, the instant Zhao Feng punched out, the two kings' minds shook, and they fell into a maze filled with mist. They lost their senses, and their control over their physical power dropped dramatically. Arg! The two kings were engulfed by the dominating golden blue physical force. Two cries sounded at almost the same time. Boom! One late-stage Void God Realm, and the other peak-tier Void God Realm died. Double kill! Emperor Ling Qiong, King Lu Yun, and company from the 10,000 sacred clans stared with open mouths. Before, Zhao Feng had killed a domain-level king with one punch. And this time, he had crushed two kings, including a peak-tier king. The third. The calm voice caused the hearts of the experts from the Earth Spirit Hall to turn cold. A junior that had just become a king instantly killed 3 Void God Realm kings. This made the kings and emperors of Earth Spirit Hall lose all face. However, this youth acted as if nothing had happened. Lightning Wings Flying Technique. The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back fluttered, and created a blurry blur as the intent of space and lightning intertwined. Shua! Zhao Feng's figure disappeared. Junior die. The next instant, the golden-robed Emperor Zhang Xiandong and the other 2 emperors arrived and unleashed a shocking attack. Rumble! The combined attack of the 3 emperors caused the heaven ethereal realm to tremble and give off ripples of forbidden power. The nearby kings were all sent flying. A large portion of the 10,000 sacred clans' headquarters had collapsed. This force was enough to instantly kill a normal emperor, but unfortunately it missed. The purple-haired youth seemed to be in control of the situation, and he avoided the joint attack by a hair's breadth. Wind Lightning Wing Slash. Zhao Feng appeared on the other side of the Earth Spirit Hall group. Whoosh! The instant he appeared, a pair of sharp wings flashed past a domain-level king. Arg! The domain-level king didn't even have time to react before being sliced in half by Zhao Feng's lightning wings slash. Another cry of agony echoed in the sky. The Void God realms from Earth Spirit Hall started to panic. Every time Zhao Feng killed a king, an immortal and undying aura of God tribulation lightning would flash across his body and instantly devour the soul of the king. The 4th. His calm voice was like a death sentence, and it made the kings of Earth Spirit Hall tremble. Reality proved that no one below the emperor level could fight back against Zhao Feng. Brat! Attack us if you dare! The emperors from Earth Spirit Hall were enraged. They weren't afraid of Zhao Feng, but his speed was far faster than normal emperors. And he also had a powerful sense of prediction and smell. Shua! 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 The golden-robed Emperor Zhang Xiandong and the other emperors split up and blocked off Zhao Feng. The other Void God Realm kings all had several emperors as their backbone. They didn't dare to be alone, and they were all on their toes. Ever since he started attacking, Zhao Feng hadn't missed a single time. It was as if he could kill a Void God Realm king every time he attacked, and he could even kill 2 kings. At this instant, the tense atmosphere reached its peak. The kings and emperors of Earth Spirit Hall were all on guard and cooperated with each other. They didn't dare to be careless. Wuxia! At a certain moment, Zhao Feng's golden physical force body appeared once more. There were 2 or 3 Void God Realm kings near him. Dodge! The 3 Void God Realm kings acted as if they were facing a great enemy, and they all tried to dodge. Don't even think about. An emperor intent shot over from nearby, and a powerful magnificent power covered Zhao Feng's body. The kings of Earth Spirit Hall worked together in groups of 3 to 5, and there were Void God Realm emperors nearby. Brat, attack me if you dare! The emperor wearing a black battle robe roared as the image of a little world appeared behind him, and he charged toward Zhao Feng. Woo! The black battle robe emperor spread his arms, and white ripples of lightning wrapped around the area dozens of miles around Zhao Feng. Ding! 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 Sparks flew from Zhao Feng's golden blue sacred lightning body, and his body became slightly numb as the white ripples of lightning wrapped around him, slowing him down. Success! The Void God Realm kings of Earth Spirit Hall revealed overjoyed expressions. I'm going to kill you. Zhao Feng's purple hair blew in the wind, and a cold purple light flashed through his left eye. His sacred lightning body became taller, and he was like a small giant as a blood-colored light that covered the sun released from his body. Chapter 879. While everyone from Earth Spirit Hall was overjoyed, Zhao Feng charged toward the black-robed emperor instead of retreating. At that moment, Zhao Feng's sacred lightning body expanded once more and turned into a small giant. He circulated his blood devil sun bloodline and released a blinding blood-colored light. Ding! 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 Boom! The white ripples of lightning didn't affect Zhao Feng's sacred lightning body at all. This black-robed emperor specialized in the Tao of lightning, which could trap normal emperors, but it was useless against Zhao Feng. How is this possible? The black-robed emperor realized that something was wrong. He found that Zhao Feng's body had a strong resistance against the Tao of lightning, and he could even absorb the power within it for himself. In the blink of an eye, boom! The wings of wind and lightning on the back of a small giant created a gust of wind and lightning, and the burst of speed made all the emperors present exclaim. After recultivating, Zhao Feng's wind-lightning technique had inherited the speed of the original wind-lightning inheritance. His body was even stronger, and with the help of the Blood Devil Sun bloodline, his speed was even more terrifying. The black-robed emperor was caught off guard and was unable to dodge. He was hit by a ball of blazing blood-colored light. An explosion sounded. Illusion Maze Domain. When the attack arrived, a powerful Soul Dao domain ignored the restrictions of the small world and enveloped the emperor in black battle robes. Even the black-robed emperor's senses went into chaos, and he wasn't able to completely stop the Illusion Maze domain. Boom! Wah! The black-robed emperor was stunned as he was pushed back several hundred yards and spat out a mouthful of blood. A layer of blood-colored flames spread across his body as he was pushed back. A portion of his yuan qi and blood quickly disappeared, and his expression became ugly. The black-robed emperor was severely injured by Zhao Feng, and he immediately coughed out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? The Earth Spirit Hall Void God Realm experts exclaimed in shock. Emperor Ling Qiong and the other kings and emperors from the 10,000 Sacred Clan were dazed. Blood Devil Sun, the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline that surpassed the peak of the era. Above the sea of clouds, Tai Litian, the emperor of the Tai family, revealed an expression of shock, excitement and joy. The might of Zhao Feng's Blood Devil Sun bloodline was beyond imagination. Every time he launched an attack, he would ignite his target's entire body and burn their blood essence. What was even more unbelievable was that, every time Zhao Feng's Blood Devil Sun bloodline attacked at close range, he could absorb his opponent's life force. At this moment, not only did Zhao Feng's Sacred Lightning Body and Blood Devil Sun bloodline not drop after unleashing their full power, but it became even stronger. Bathing in blood and fighting bravely, the more you fight, the braver you become. Such a bloodline born for battle cannot be allowed to die, let alone spread outside of the Tai family. Tai Litian was extremely excited, and his body trembled. The Blood Devil Sun bloodline's explosive attacks were unparalleled, but its weakness was that it could not last long. However, with Zhao Feng's perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline, even if he was heavily injured, he could use his bloodline to attack and recover his yuan qi quickly. The foundation of the Sacred Lightning Body, the explosive power of the Blood Devil Sun bloodline, and the speed of the Wind Lightning technique. Zhao Feng was like a winged Blood Devil Sun bloodline giant that stood proudly in the air. His cultivation technique and bloodline, combined, allowed him to unleash unparalleled battle power. He was able to severely injure an emperor just now, even if it was due to the element of surprise. The late stages of the 5th level of the Sacred Lightning Body allowed Zhao Feng to dominate almost everyone at the Void God realm, and he could even fight against emperors head-on. The explosive power of the Blood Devil Sun bloodline, and the burning, igniting, and sucking of life force allowed his battle power to explode endlessly. The speed, changes, and intent that the Wind Lightning technique brought was enough for Zhao Feng to move through the crowd of kings and emperors without fear. The heart of the black-robed emperor, who had been heavily injured, shook, and his battle intent disappeared by half. Stall him for a few breaths. The other emperors of Earth Spirit Hall recovered from their shock and surrounded Zhao Feng from different directions. The black-robed emperor also understood that he wouldn't be able to defeat this monstrous youth by himself. Die! The blazing sun giant that Zhao Feng had turned into created a gust of wind and lightning as he charged over with unavoidable speed. Boom! The powerful aura caused the black-robed emperor's blood to fluctuate and his body to become heavy. This pressure came from the Sacred Lightning Body and the Blood Devil Sun bloodline. It won't be that easy to kill me. The black-robed emperor snickered coldly. It wasn't a coincidence that any Void God Realm emperor had reached the peak of their soul and intent. Wang, the black-robed emperor, crossed his arms in front of his chest, and a bright white armor of lightning covered his body. White snakes of lightning several hundred yards long extended from him and blocked off Zhao Feng's path of attack. This strategy of attacking and defending was the best choice. Humph! Mockery appeared in the eyes of the blazing sun giant that Zhao Feng had turned into. Peng! Peng! Wherever he passed, the mountains and rivers would be flattened. The entangling white lightning snakes were directly smashed apart by his domineering physique and the power of the blazing flames. What a powerful offense! The illusion of a little world appeared behind the black-robed emperor, and he panicked as he retreated. Although Zhao Feng was quickly approaching, the black-robed emperor's goal was about to be achieved. He only needed to stall for a few breaths. Even if his injuries worsened, he still needed to stall for a few breaths. Right at this moment, the situation started to change. Mental energy spike. An invisible spike that looked like a cold purple crystal shot out from Zhao Feng's left eye and into the black-robed emperor's soul. Arg! The black-robed emperor screamed. The giant mental energy spike was condensed to the limit and became like a crystal. It was accompanied by an immortal and undying eye intent. In that instant, the black-robed emperor's soul was pierced through, and the power of the god tribulation lightning almost caused his soul to shatter. Wang! Several hundred wisps of god tribulation lightning auras suddenly flashed within Zhao Feng's purple soul sea. At this moment, the power of the god tribulation lightning he could use was close to what he needed to chase after the Emperor of Death. Boom! The next instant, the blazing sun giant that Zhao Feng had turned into slammed into the black-robed emperor. No! The other emperors that were approaching couldn't help but roar as they revealed expressions of unwillingness. However, at this moment, the black-robed emperor's soul was about to shatter, and his body was severely injured. He was instantly killed by Zhao Feng without any resistance. The fifth. An ordinary voice resounded throughout the entire arena. Emperor! A great emperor had fallen. Both sides fell into a dead silence. Waves of shock appeared in the hearts of everyone from the 10,000 sacred clan. The hearts of the void god realms from Earth Spirit Hall went cold, and a shadow of fear spread across their bodies. He started a massacre. Gu Chaoji's face was gray, and his body started to tremble. He didn't dare to participate in the pursuit of Zhao Feng. Back in Xieyang Palace, the other member of the purple-haired demonic duo, Nan Gongsheng, had also started a massacre after being affected by the power of the evil god. At that time, Zhao Feng stopped the massacre, and now, the purple-haired demonic duo was even more mysterious. As the mastermind, he also started a merciless massacre. His targets this time weren't the new geniuses, but the kings and emperors of the older generation. Shua! The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back fluttered, and he left behind an afterimage, as he easily threw off the emperors that were charging at him. Brat, don't even think about running. The golden-robed emperor, Zhang Xiandong and company missed once again. On the other side, after Zhao Feng appeared, he could easily kill a normal king with a slash of his wings, or a charge from his sacred lightning body. Whoosh! 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 The youth with the wings of lightning could easily kill a Void God Realm expert every time he appeared. The number of Void God Realm experts from the Earth Spirit Hall was decreasing bit by bit. The entire situation was controlled by Zhao Feng. Apart from Zhang Xiandong, who didn't offend the Peak Emperor, Zhao Feng would kill all the other kings and emperors whenever he had the chance. In just the time it took to make tea, over half of the Void God Realm experts from Earth Spirit Hall had been killed by Zhao Feng. Among them, he had killed 16 Void God Realm kings, 2 emperors, and 1 was severely injured. Normal Void God Realm emperors could be instantly killed by Zhao Feng with his eye bloodline and God Tribulation lightning. One of the heavily injured emperors only managed to survive because he had a powerful life-saving secret technique. Stop! The remaining emperors from Earth Spirit Hall, led by Zhang Xiandong, roared with bloodshot eyes. Apart from anger, there was also helplessness and pleading in their voices. The golden-robed emperor, Zhang Xiandong, ordered the remaining kings and emperors to gather together and form a defensive barrier. At this moment in time, Earth Spirit Hall didn't dare to think about killing Zhao Feng anymore. They were already lucky to be able to leave alive. It doesn't matter if you gather together or split up. You won't be able to escape from me. Zhao Feng floated in the air as his left eye contracted. He had expended a lot of energy from the continuous slaughter. Luckily, he had the Blood Devil Sun Bloodline's lifesteal ability. After saying this, Zhao Feng took out the sky-locking bow and locked onto a few targets within Earth Spirit Hall. If everyone from Earth Spirit Hall gathered together, Zhao Feng could use his sky-locking bow and his left eye to kill them one by one. If these people split up, it would be even easier for Zhao Feng to kill them one by one. As long as he left a mark of the God Eye on these people, Zhao Feng would be able to kill them one by one before they could escape back to the clan. Zhao Feng, you don't really want to slaughter these people, do you? Emperor Ling Qiong and company from the 10,000 Sacred Clan all took in cold breaths. The group that Earth Spirit Hall had sent out could already crush a 2-star force like the 10,000 Sacred Clan. However, they were completely helpless against Zhao Feng, and they were slaughtered one by one. He definitely has the ability to do so. Gu Chaoji's face was pale white, and his voice trembled within Earth Spirit Hall. In his impression, Nan Gongsheng of the purple-haired demonic duo was extremely cruel and bloodthirsty. The other Zhao Feng was unfathomable, and he rarely fought. He wasn't bloodthirsty either. However, when the leader of the purple-haired demonic duo started a massacre, Gu Chaoji finally understood what terror was. Zhao Feng's expression was calm throughout the entire process, as if nothing had happened. The mental pressure he exerted made the remaining kings and emperors of Earth Spirit Hall fall into despair. Chapter 880. In the air, the Void God Realm emperors and kings from Earth Spirit Hall had all gathered together. However, the remaining dozen or so people didn't feel safe at all. Their faces were filled with anger, fear, and fear. On the field, there was a stifling silence. Cold sweat appeared on the foreheads of the kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall. Many of them felt regret and despair. If they could go back to before Zhao Feng started his massacre, they would run as far away as they could. They wouldn't fight this nightmarish youth head-on. However, Zhao Feng had already started his massacre. Even if they ran in all directions, they wouldn't have a chance. At this point in time, no one doubted that Zhao Feng had the ability to do so. Zhao Feng, don't be rash. Killing all these people won't benefit you, or the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Emperor Ling Qiong and the other Void God Realm upper echelon members of the 10,000 Sacred Clan felt uneasy and sweated. No matter what, Earth Spirit Hall was a 3-star superpower. One of the requirements to become a 3-star superpower was to have the power of a mystic light realm. These kings and emperors were just a portion of Earth Spirit Hall's forces. Zhao Feng held the sky-locking bow as his left eye locked onto the group from Earth Spirit Hall. His expression didn't change at all, but the killing intent radiating from his body didn't disappear. Zhao Feng wasn't like Nan Gongsheng. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person. However, when his enemies wanted to kill him for his treasures, he wouldn't show any mercy. I've already killed half of them. Zhao Feng didn't care, and a cold purple light appeared in his left eye. The 3 emperors from the 10,000 Sacred Clan felt helpless. From beginning to end, the 10,000 Sacred Clan was dazed as they watched Zhao Feng slaughter the forces of Earth Spirit Hall by himself. Within the clan, the expressions of the disciples that were familiar with Zhao Feng, such as Kong Feiling, Huang Yunhu, Lu Tianfan, Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian, and company, changed dramatically. They felt like they were in a dream. Tell me this isn't real. This isn't a dream? Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian, Lu Tianfan and company, who were once enemies with Zhao Feng, shuddered. Their voices trembled as they spoke. As Zhao Feng spoke, the group from Earth Spirit Hall fell into despair. Yes, since he had already killed half of them, Zhao Feng wouldn't be stingy with the other half. Is there really no way to stop him? The golden-robed Emperor Zhang Xiandong felt helpless. As a peak emperor, he wasn't afraid of fighting Zhao Feng head-on, even if his chances of winning weren't high. The speed that Zhao Feng displayed were already at the level of emperors, so there was nothing he could do. Most emperors would find it hard to block Zhao Feng's left eye bloodline. However, the problem was Zhao Feng would definitely kill all the other kings and great earths before attacking Zhang Xiandong, the strongest peak emperor. Emperor Zhang Hevi, Left God and Zhao Zhao Zhao, Spirit Zhang Spirit Realm and Zhang. Zhao Feng was still a distance away from his peak, mainly in terms of his soul. Even so, if he went all out, he was confident he could kill an ordinary peak martial emperor within 100 moves. He's ridiculously powerful. Tai Litian, who was above the clouds, took a deep breath. The perfect blood devil sun bloodline, a powerful lightning Dao body tempering technique, and a transcendent left eye bloodline. If this person can return to the Tai family, he will definitely become a supreme figure who will decide the fate of the continent zone in the future. However, Tai Litian was not confident in convincing Zhao Feng to return to the Tai clan. With such terrifying strength and potential, even a mystic light realm, sacred lord grand elder of the Tai family, would come personally to invite him. Just when everyone's hearts were hanging in suspense, whoosh, a majestic aura came from afar that suppressed normal great emperors. Even some peak great emperors were intimidated by it. In an instant, the various powers in the world fell into an indescribable throbbing stagnation. Stop! A dignified male voice resounded through the clouds, descending upon the soul and material planes at the same time. The people from both sides, including Tai Litian, shuddered. Even Zhang Xiandong, who was a peak emperor, felt pressured. This aura had probably touched the level of a mystic light realm. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. The aura of this newcomer was shocking, and it wasn't any weaker than the Emperor of Death. In some aspects, it might even be stronger. If the owner of this aura came from Earth Spirit Hall, then things would become troublesome. However, at the same time, Zhao Feng felt that this aura was slightly familiar. Great! The golden-robed great emperor, Zhang Xiandong, revealed a look of delight as if he recognized the newcomer. At the same time, several thousand miles away, I hope I can make it in time. A dignified male, wearing a luxurious golden robe, gave off a dragon-like aura and the invisible draconic providence of the Lord dynasty. Wherever the dignified man went, the countless living beings in the territory of the dynasty instinctively prostrated themselves in worship. So it's Duke Namfeng. Zhao Feng's left eye bloodline was extremely far away, so he was able to recognize the newcomer. The ruler of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. No wonder he has such a powerful aura and Lord Dynasty providence. Tai Litian from the Tai family finally understood. In terms of speed, Duke Namfeng wasn't much slower than Zhao Feng, and he soon arrived at the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Good. Duke Nanfeng's gaze landed on Zhao Feng, and he let out a breath when he saw that the latter was safe. He had rushed over because he had received news that Zhao Feng was in danger and was surrounded by King Martial Emperors from Earth Spirit Hall. After hearing this news, he even stopped trying to break through to the mystic light realm and rushed over as fast as he could. After all, he owed Zhao Feng a favor, and he wouldn't be able to rest easy if Zhao Feng died. Furthermore, this might be a chance to repay the favor and rope in Zhao Feng. However, when Duke Namfeng arrived at the 10,000 Sacred Clan, he felt that something was wrong. Zhao Feng was safe and held the sky-locking bow. His eyes were cold and calm as he looked at those from Earth Spirit Hall. On the other hand, those from Earth Spirit Hall all had expressions of fear and panic, and there were many injured emperors and kings. These kings and emperors gathered together and were uneasy. They didn't feel safe facing the purple-haired youth at all. Duke Namfeng could even smell the tattered soul aura of a fallen void god realm. Duke Namfeng, you came just in time. Come and save us. This madman has already slaughtered half of our void god realm experts, and he still wants to kill us all. The golden-robed emperor and two other emperors from Earth Spirit Hall exclaimed for help. The golden-robed emperor, Zhang Xiandong, seemed to know Duke Namfeng, and their relationship seemed to be pretty good. Duke Namfeng froze for a while as the kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall begged for help, and his expression seemed to choke with tears. You are begging for help. Duke Namfeng's face twitched as his gaze swept over Earth Spirit Hall and landed on Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng was expressionless, but killing intent flashed in his eyes. It was obvious that he was the stronger side. Those from the Earth Spirit Hall were shocked and terrified. They placed all their hopes of survival on Duke Nanfeng. Duke Nanfeng, we've known each other for several hundred years. Help me stop this madman. I'll owe you a favor. The golden-robed emperor, Zhang Xiandong, said sincerely. Although he and Duke Nanfeng weren't very close, they were still quite familiar with each other. There were only a few peak emperors near the ocean, and they all knew each other. At this moment in time, everyone's gazes landed on Duke Nanfeng. Duke Nanfeng was a very important person. Firstly, he was the ruler of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. Secondly, his strength was slightly stronger than normal peak emperors, and he had the providence of the Lord Dynasty. No one doubted that Duke Nanfeng had the strength and qualifications to do so. Brother Zhao, how long has it been since we last met? You've already killed so many king martial emperors from Earth Spirit Hall. Duke Nanfeng had a weird expression as he looked at Zhao Feng with a bitter smile. He originally wanted to save Zhao Feng, but he didn't expect to see such a scene. Who was the one that needed saving more? Duke Nanfeng, you know each other? The golden-robed emperor, Zhang Xiandong, and company were all stunned, and some of them even had sad expressions. After fighting for so long, they felt like a flood had rushed into the temple of the Dragon King. This outcome made Zhang Xiandong and company feel very uncomfortable. Your Highness, you don't know. These people came to kill me first, so I started killing them. I even warned them before I attacked. Zhao Feng put away the sky-locking bow and said slowly. Hearing that, those from Earth Spirit Hall were speechless, and they were filled with regret. Before he attacked, Zhao Feng had warned them that he didn't want to start a massacre. However, these people felt disdain at that time. Brother Zhao, can you give me some face and let them go for now? After this, I will invite you to my palace. Duke Nanfeng had a bitter expression as he sent a divine sense message. Sure, but these people must promise not to offend the 10,000 sacred clan, or be my enemy in the future. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person, and he had already killed half of these people. The Tianfeng Great Island Zone was under Duke Nanfeng's control, so he should give him some face. Hearing that, those from Earth Spirit Hall felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. We can only promise ourselves. We can't represent the entire Earth Spirit Hall. Zhang Xiandong, the golden-robed emperor of Earth Spirit Hall, replied in a solemn tone. Although he was a peak emperor, he didn't have the absolute right to speak in Earth Spirit Hall. Zhao Feng understood that as long as these people could promise, it would be fine. Duke Nanfeng and the other experts of the 10,000 sacred clan were witnesses. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Soon, the Earth Spirit Hall's sovereign martial emperors retreated in a sorry state. These sovereign martial emperors showed regret on their faces, or intense dissatisfaction in their hearts. Although we can't do anything to that Zhao Feng, and we promised not to become enemies with him again, we can't do anything to him. However, as long as the Mystic Light Realm Grand Elder comes out of seclusion, dealing with the small king will be easy. Many of the Earth Spirit Hall survivors were filled with resentment. Zhao Feng killed so many king martial emperors of Earth Spirit Hall. That Mystic Light Realm ancestor definitely won't forgive him after he comes out of seclusion. Gu Chaoji muttered in his heart. But for some reason, every time he thought of that youth, there would be an indescribable shadow of unease and fear in his heart. In the air above the 10,000 sacred clan. It's time to leave. Zhao Feng's golden blue figure floated in the air and scanned the familiar and unfamiliar faces within the 10,000 sacred clan. Emperor Ling Qiong and company from the 10,000 sacred clan weren't surprised, and they let out a long breath. The 10,000 sacred clan definitely wouldn't be able to contain a dragon like Zhao Feng. Furthermore, the purple-haired demonic duo had offended so many super forces. A measly 2-star sect definitely wouldn't be able to protect them. The past Zhao Feng has already passed away. My name is Zhao Feng, and I am the left-eyed heavenly emperor of the Tsang Ocean. A clear voice sounded across heaven and earth. Chapter 881. The past Zhao Feng has already passed away. My name is Zhao Feng, and I am the left-eyed heavenly emperor of the Tsang Ocean. His voice sounded across heaven and earth, and passed through the soul dimension. Within a radius of several thousand kilometers, countless intelligent beings, not just humans, could clearly understand the meaning of these words. Hearing this, the hearts of the experts present, including Emperor Ling Qiong and King Lu Yun from the 10,000 Sacred Clan, Duke Namfeng, and Tai Litian shook. Zhao Feng's voice was, without a doubt, a declaration to the outside world. He was announcing his true self. The original Zhao Feng had already passed away. Although he had inherited this body, the soul and intent were the true essence of a person. Zhao Feng didn't want to continue living under someone else's name and mission. Furthermore, his true identity was close to being exposed in a small circle. He couldn't keep it a secret for too long. So that's how it is. The elders and disciples of the 10,000 Sacred Clan that were familiar with Zhao Feng understood and sighed in their hearts with complex expressions. Thinking about it, it made sense. How could such a heaven-defying genius appear in the world? In just a short year, he had gone from a true spirit realm junior to a king, and had the battle power to kill emperors. Now many questions have been answered. Duke Namfeng revealed an understanding expression. In the world of cultivation, it wasn't strange for someone at the Void God realm to steal someone else's body. Before, Zhao Feng and Princess Yuqing were very close. Duke Namfeng had obviously sent people to investigate his identity, since he was able to revive the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly at such a young age. The results of the investigation revealed that Zhao Feng was full of questions. But now, with the revelation of Zhao Feng's true identity, the truth was revealed. Well, what's going on? Tai Litian's expression was apprehensive. This sudden turn of events had caught him off guard. Shua! Tai Litian waved his hand, and an old figure jumped out of the little world. It was Grandpa Zhao. Indeed, Grandpa Zhao smiled bitterly, and his expression was complicated. Feng was killed by the Yin clan. After his death, an almighty being from beyond the heavens took over his body. Then the Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Tai Litian's eyes shone brightly. What he cared about the most was the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Zhao Feng's life and death were secondary. The Blood Devil Sun family bloodline only appeared after he descended. Grandpa Zhao answered honestly. Before Zhao Feng's reincarnation, although his talent was decent, he didn't have such a powerful bloodline. When Tai Litian heard this, he could not help but fall into deep thought. He suspected that something had happened after Zhao Feng's arrival that had awakened the latent bloodline in this body. It was even possible that Zhao Feng possessed some kind of secret technique that could awaken and evolve his bloodline. In fact, there were many living beings in the world that more or less had bloodline factors in their bodies. It was just that they were extremely thin or in a recessive state, and it was very likely that they would never awaken in their lifetime. This Zhao Feng stole someone else's body and came back to life. He must have been a peak emperor, or even a mystic light realm sacred lord. Tai Litian took a deep breath. Things had become complicated. Zhao Feng had come back to life through stealing someone else's body, so he didn't have a true sense of belonging to the Tai family or the Zhao family. In this situation, it would be even more difficult for him to return to the Tai family. Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian. Zhao Feng stood proudly in the air, but his eyes were locked onto a scared figure in the crowd below. Arg! Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian was so scared that his soul almost flew away, and he knelt on the ground. Zhao Feng snickered coldly and released a surge of magnificent power that covered Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian. My lord, spare me! Emperor Zhao, spare me! Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian couldn't fight back at all, and was lifted into the air. No one from the 10,000 Sacred Clan dared to stop him. The expression of King Lu Qiong, Guang Tian's master, changed dramatically, but he didn't dare to make a sound. Zhao Feng's death was related to your collusion with the Yin family. As the new host of this body, I obviously won't let you go. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Now that the truth had been revealed, the time was right. There were some things that Zhao Feng didn't need to be afraid of exposing them to the public, and solving them together. Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian's face was pale white. Under Zhao Feng's intent, he couldn't even think of lying or arguing. Die! With a thought from Zhao Feng, Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian was crushed by the invisible magnificent power of heaven and earth. When one reached the Void God realm, their soul would change. Their soul would merge into the center of heaven and earth, and they would be able to use the power of heaven and earth with a thought. This was where the magnificent power of kings came from. Emperors had reached the peak of their soul, and they could use even more magnificent power. As for mystic light realm sacred lords, they were at an even higher level. Apparently, even their true yuan and life force in the physical dimension could be merged into the laws of heaven and earth. At that level, they could suppress all kinds of power in heaven and earth with just a thought. The physical dimension would leave the realm of mortals and approach the domain of gods. Of course, Zhao Feng only knew a little about this. The bee queen that he had met in Xieyang Palace had reached the level of a mystic light realm sacred lord, but it was a race that relied on reproduction to survive. It didn't have much battle power, and didn't know how to use its own power. Boom! Under the shaking of the magnificent power, Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian was killed by Zhao Feng with a thought and turned into dust. Everyone below kings were ants. Even in the continent zone, Void God Realm kings were unreachable existences to billions of cultivators. Void God Realm kings were rare, even in the normal regions of the continent zone. However, as Zhao Feng reached a higher level, the people and circles he would meet in the future would become more and more powerful. Plop! Plop! Some members of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, such as Huang Yunhu, Wang Yuan and company, suddenly knelt on the ground. Mercy! Emperor Zhao, mercy! These people had some enmity with Zhao Feng in the past, and they all pleaded guilty. No one in the 10,000 Sacred Clan could stop Zhao Feng from killing people. Putting aside normal members, Zhao Feng could even kill Void God Realm kings if he wanted to. Just now, when Zhao Feng killed Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian, his master King Lu Qiong didn't say anything and didn't dare to stop him. Although Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian was only an in-name disciple of a king, one could see how strong Zhao Feng was. The original Zhao Feng has passed away. From today onwards, I will leave the 10,000 Sacred Clan. An emotionless voice resounded across the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Zhao Feng didn't bother with Huang Yunhu and company. The enmity from before was just a small fight between disciples. He didn't put it to heart at all with his current status. Leave the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The hearts of everyone in the 10,000 Sacred Clan, from the outer disciples to the kings and emperors, shook. One had to say, it was a big loss for the 10,000 Sacred Clan for such an expert to leave the clan. However, only a small number of people in the 10,000 Sacred Clan could guess Zhao Feng's intentions. After the divine illusion dimension, the purple-haired demonic duo had offended many super forces. The tiny 10,000 Sacred Clan couldn't protect Zhao Feng at all. Although Zhao Feng's actions seemed heartless, he was actually drawing a line between himself and the 10,000 Sacred Clan, so that they wouldn't be affected. This Zhao Feng cares about his friends and has his principles. However, the name Left-Eyed Heavenly Emperor sounds familiar. Duke Nanfeng had a praising expression as he started to think. The Tsang Ocean was relatively far away from the continent zone. There was also the Nanlin Sea in between. The name Left-Eyed Heavenly Emperor had only appeared in the Tsang Ocean a few years ago. Only a small number of people in the Nanlin Sea knew of this name. However, only a small number of people near the Tianfeng Great Island Zone, such as intelligence agencies, knew of this name. Zhao Feng, the 10,000 Sacred Clan won't keep you any longer. No matter what happens in the future, you were once a member of this clan. Old Monster Su's magnificent power projection floated in the air and sighed. This old Monster Su was originally a peak emperor of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, but he had failed to break through to the mystic light realm and was reaching the end of his lifespan. What he meant was that he hoped that Zhao Feng would be able to help him. With Zhao Feng's potential and fortune, his future would be limitless. If Zhao Feng reached an even higher level in the future, He hoped that Zhao Feng would take care of the 10,000 sacred clan. Spatial movement. A ripple of water suddenly appeared in Zhao Feng's left eye as it locked onto a certain forbidden ground within the 10,000 sacred clan. An old person sitting cross-legged within the forbidden ground suddenly realized that a small jade bottle had appeared in front of him. This old figure was Old Monster Su from the 10,000 sacred clan. He instinctively grabbed the small jade bottle, and he could faintly see the half-frozen multicolored liquid within. Your lifespan is reaching the end of your lifespan, unless you break through to the mystic light realm. Since we're from the same clan, I'll give this bottle of 100 origin sacred honey to you for now. A faint voice sounded next to Old Monster Su's ears. 100 origin sacred honey. Old Monster Su's body started to tremble, and his face was filled with joy. The excitement in his heart was indescribable. Of course, this isn't just because we're from the same clan. If you manage to break through, I'll order you around 3 times in the future. Zhao Feng's voice continued to sound. No problem. As long as I can break through, you'll be my second parent. So what if you order me around 10 times or 30 times? Old Monster Su suppressed the excitement in his heart. He didn't even need to guess to know that the 100 origin sacred honey definitely came from the divine illusion dimension. In an environment like the continent zone, it was almost impossible for such a precious holy elixir to appear. Just keep this promise in your heart. Zhao Feng's voice disappeared from Old Monster Su's ears. When one reached Old Monster Su's and Zhao Feng's level, any promise would have the same effect as swearing on their heart demons. Furthermore, Old Monster Su was making a promise when his lifespan was reaching the end. In the air above the 10,000 sacred clan, Zhao Feng's figure floated higher and higher, as he said goodbye to the members of the 10,000 sacred clan. From this moment onwards, he would officially leave the 10,000 sacred clan. Adding on the fact that he had reincarnated, it was very unlikely that the other forces would chase after him in Duke Nanfeng's territory. On the other side, Duke Nanfeng and Tai Litian couldn't help but feel expectant. Where would Zhao Feng go after leaving the 10,000 sacred clan? Duke Nanfeng had a smile on his face and was about to speak. Whoosh! Suddenly, a blazing red figure flashed over and arrived at Zhao Feng's side. Zhao Feng, please listen to me. Tai Litian took in a deep breath and spoke before Duke Nanfeng could. Chapter 882. Zhao Feng, please listen to me. Tai Litian spoke first and made Duke Nanfeng pause. Although he was slightly unhappy, he didn't show it. Duke Nanfeng also knew this great emperor of the Tai family. The Tai family was located in the northwestern part of the Great Gon Lord dynasty, and they were one of the main pillars against the Dark Moon Lord dynasty. What do you want? Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed as he inspected Tai Litian. Before this, he was in seclusion and didn't pay much attention to Tai Litian. He didn't expect Tai Litian to be so patient and wait near the 10,000 sacred clan. Zhao Feng, no matter who your true identity is, this body's bloodline comes from the Tai family. The bloodline of this body originates from the Tai family. Even your biological mother is still alive. It's hard to cut off this bloodline. Tai Litian said in a sincere tone. Tai family's bloodline? Birth mother? Hearing that, Duke Nanfeng's face was filled with shock. Things seemed to have become complicated. He expected that Zhao Feng had taken over this body and reincarnated. Now that he had taken over this body, the truth would be revealed. What was unexpected was, the Tai family was ranked at the top of the 8 big families. Even the Great Gon Imperials had to give them some face. The Tai family was one of the top families among the 8 great families. Even the Great Qian royal family had to show them some respect. According to what Duke Nanfeng knew, the Tai family was extremely strict when it came to controlling their bloodline. Under normal situations, it was extremely rare for their bloodline to be leaked out. Even if they did, they would be severely punished. Under normal circumstances, it was extremely rare for the bloodline to be passed on to outsiders. Even if there were, they would be severely punished. He always thought that his parents were dead, and that he wouldn't be able to see them again. Grandpa Zhao bowed and said with a trembling voice, He looked at Tai Litian calmly. You want me to join the Tai family? He looked at Tai Litian calmly. You want me to join the Tai clan? You want me to join the Tai family? Tai Litian was excited. This was the goal that he had come up with all kinds of methods to achieve. Zhao Feng, now that you've offended 9 Darkness Palace and other super forces, normal forces won't be able to protect you. However, if you join the Tai family, not many forces will dare to touch the disciples of the Tai family. Tai Litian's voice was sonorous, and his tone was filled with great confidence. The Tai clan was famous for being powerful in the Great Qian dynasty. They were at least at the peak of a 3-star sect, and they were not afraid of fighting even a 4-star sect. If Zhao Feng joined the Tai family, he would indeed receive the greatest protection. Thank you for your kindness, but I already have a destination in mind. I can't join the Tai family. Zhao Feng shook his head without hesitation. Back in the true martial sacred land, Zhao Feng had once told his master, Duanmu Qing, and Zhao Yufei that he would go to the Duanmu family after confirming the fate of his fiancée, Lu Qinxin. Duanmu Qing, the Purple Saint Partial Spirit, and Zhao Yufei all wanted to revive the Duanmu family. Zhao Feng would also help without any reason. After all, the Purple Saint Partial Spirit and Duanmu Qing had helped Zhao Feng a lot back then. You actually... Tai Litian's face was filled with disappointment and grief. However, in front of Zhao Feng and Duke Nanfeng, he couldn't do anything. Tai Litian and Duke Nanfeng were both surprised that Zhao Feng had a destination in the Lord dynasty. Duke Nanfeng thought that he had to investigate the left-eyed heavenly emperor Zhao Feng's identity. Although the Tsang Ocean was far away from the Lord dynasty, some intelligence agencies would definitely have news about the left-eyed heavenly emperor. I'm sorry. Zhao Feng was slightly regretful, and he paused for a moment before continuing. I'm no longer the original Zhao Feng. Everything that happened in the past will be cut in half. The moment he corrected himself, he had this intention. From now on, everything about the original Zhao Feng would be in the past. Cut in half. Tai Litian shook his head and smiled as he watched Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin leave. He murmured, Zhao Feng, you're thinking too simply. With the strict control the continent families have over their bloodline, how could the Tai family let the strongest bloodline go? Indeed, Zhao Feng's thoughts on this matter were very simple. The Lord dynasty, the Imperials, and the 8 big families all placed great importance on bloodlines. Whoosh! Whoosh! Zhao Feng and Duke Nanfeng flew away from the 10,000 sacred clan. Before they left, Zhao Feng gently waved his arm guard and left a spatial mark near the 10,000 sacred clan. With the misty spatial world, as long as Zhao Feng became stronger in the future, he would be able to instantly arrive here no matter how far he was. Zhao Feng, I'll need you to help me take care of the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly. Duke Nanfeng had a grateful expression. Just a moment ago, Zhao Feng had agreed to go to Duke Nanfeng's palace through divine sense. Half a month ago, Duke Nanfeng's cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly had recovered after being nurtured by a large amount of resources. It had just recovered not long ago. Duke Nanfeng impatiently told the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly to secrete some origin pollen to help him break through to the mystic light realm. The origin pollen that the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly secreted had a similar effect to the 100 origin sacred honey. It had a unique effect when forming a mystic light sacred body and merging the soul and body into one. Furthermore, the method to obtain this origin pollen was extremely strict. Each cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly could only secrete it 2 or 3 times in its life. Every time it secreted it, the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly would be heavily injured. It's just a small effort. Zhao Feng gave a faint smile. At this moment, he understood why Duke Nanfeng placed so much importance on the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly. The cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly was a bloodline race on the 10,000 ancient races. It was extremely old, had strong battle power, and had unique abilities. This was especially true for its support abilities. The cloud silkworm Saint Silk that the cloud silkworm Saint Butterfly spat out was extremely unique. It was a material used to create top-tier defensive armors. The main material of the cloud silkworm saint robe, that Nan Gongxing obtained from the divine illusion dimension, was also the cloud silkworm saint butterfly's cloud silkworm saint silk. Zhao Feng, there are some things that I have to warn you about. Duke Nanfeng spoke on the way back. Please tell me, Duke, Zhao Feng said in surprise. You've killed so many kings and emperors from Earth Spirit Hall. Being a 3-star power, they have a strong foundation, and they have a mystic light realm sacred lord behind them. They probably won't let you go so easily. Duke Nanfeng warned in a solemn tone. 3-star powers had a very important status even in the Lord Dynasty. They could at least influence the fate of an entire area. After all, there were too few 4-star powers. The number of 4-star powers didn't even exceed one's fingers. I understand. Zhao Feng's heart shook. He was already prepared for this. Zhao Feng knew how strong a 3-star power was. He had stayed in the 3-star mystic true sacred clan before. No matter how strong Zhao Feng was, he was still at the void god realm. Mystic light realm sacred lords were mostly in seclusion and weren't very interested in the matters of the world. However, once a mystic light realm sacred lord interfered, they would suppress everything with their unrivaled aura. 3-star powers would wait for a mystic light realm sacred lord to come out of seclusion to deal with some troublesome matters that peak emperors couldn't solve. In the past, the Wind Lightning Emperor and the Pirate Emperor both died to mystic light realm sacred lords. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. The Wind Lightning Emperor was a peak emperor and was said to be the fastest emperor. The Pirate Emperor was an array grandmaster, and he had once excavated the secret dimension of the Heaven's Legacy City. These two legendary emperors were legends of an era, but they both died at the hands of a mystic light realm sacred lord. From this, one could see that mystic light realm sacred lords were basically unrivaled in the world. Even demigods were at the mystic light realm, but they were closer to the heavenly divine realm than normal sacred lords. However, Zhao Feng, you don't need to worry. As long as you stay in my palace, normal 3-star powers won't dare to do anything to you, Duke Nanfeng said with a faint smile. His identity was very noble, and he was brothers with the sacred emperor of the Great Gon Lord Dynasty. Furthermore, Duke Nanfeng himself was very strong, and he had the providence of the Lord Dynasty on him. He was half a step into the mystic light realm. This time, the reason Duke Nanfeng returned to the Duke's palace was to use the origin pollen of the cloud silkworm saint butterfly to break through to the mystic light realm sacred lord level. The weak cloud silkworm saint butterfly needed Zhao Feng's help to take care of it. Then I'll stay in the Duke's palace for a while. Zhao Feng made up his mind. It might not be the best time for him to go to the Duanmu family. Zhao Feng had heard about the Duanmu family's situation before. It was one of the declining families of the 8 big families. If it continued to decline, the Duanmu family might be removed from the 8 big families. Zhao Feng didn't worry. If he went there now, he would bring danger to the Duanmu family. An hour later, Zhao Feng and Duke Nanfeng arrived at the Duke's palace together. Greetings, Lord Duke. The two walked side by side in the palace, and greetings could be heard from time to time. Zhao Feng was used to this. A while later, Duke Nanfeng brought Zhao Feng to a hidden hall and took out a transparent porcelain bottle. The cloud silkworm saint butterfly was like a lifelike jade that lay quietly within the bottle. Its aura was weak, and it occasionally moved its wings. It was currently in deep sleep. Zhao Feng inspected it for a while. The cloud silkworm saint butterfly was extremely weak this time, and its life force was extremely weak. If an ordinary beast tamer wanted to revive the cloud silkworm immortal butterfly, it would take several years at the very least, given that there was no limit to the resources in the manor. Meow meow. Zhao Feng swiped his arm, and the silver-gray little thieving cat appeared next to the bottle. Ding! Ding! The little thieving cat waved its paws and knocked on the bottle a few times. Hoo-pa! The cloud silkworm saint butterfly shook its fat body and wings as it opened its emerald-like eyes. In a flash, a terrifying aura that originated from the ancient era caused countless beings within a radius of 1,000 miles to instinctively tremble with unease in their bodies and bloodlines. Even someone as strong as Zhao Feng felt a lot of pressure. Once this cloud silkworm saint butterfly recovered to its peak, it would have battle power close to a mystic light realm sacred lord. It could be said that this cloud silkworm saint butterfly was Duke Nanfeng's right-hand man. No wonder Duke Nanfeng needed to revive it as soon as possible. Once Duke Nanfeng became a sacred lord, with the help of the cloud silkworm saint butterfly, his strength would increase by several times, and he would have a lot of power in the Great Gon Lord dynasty. If Duke doesn't need to worry, then leave the saint butterfly to me, Zhao Feng said straightforwardly. Okay. Duke Nanfeng looked deeply at Zhao Feng. Under normal situations, he wouldn't be able to let someone else take care of the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. But this youth in front of him was an exception. However, this young man before them was an exception. He seemed to have some sort of calming and convincing power. Thank you for your trust, Duke. Zhao Feng gave a faint smile as he put the cloud silkworm saint butterfly into the misty spatial world. Meow. The little thieving cat also entered with him. Zhao Feng gave the little thieving cat the task of taking care of the cloud silkworm saint butterfly. Later that night, within Duke Nanfeng's underground palace in the Duke's palace, reporting to Duke, we've found news regarding the left-eyed heavenly emperor in the Tsang Ocean. A king in black half knelt on the ground. His eyes were filled with shock, and his voice wasn't normal. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.